Hello there and welcome back to the Sleep Science. You're sprawled across the sheets, phone finally face down, the room exhaling into that velvet hush that only arrives after midnight. The ceiling fan clicks like a lazy metronome, and somewhere in the walls the fridge hums its nightly lullaby. You think you're simply drifting off, but right this instant your skull is becoming a pocket-sized particle accelerator. Time dilation is happening around you right now, and the first culprit is a pea-sized nugget of neurons called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, the SCN, your personal CERN for bending seconds. Picture it. 20,000 cells, no bigger than a sesame seed, perched just above the spot where your optic nerves cross. By day, they march in lockstep to sunlight, barking orders to every mitochondrion in your body. The moment the last photon slips past your curtains, they loosen the leash. One external hour stretches, yawns, and settles into something closer to 90 internal minutes. Historians still argue whether the ancient Sumerians noticed this first when they carved tally marks on clay tablets for night watch shifts. The guards swore the third watch felt twice as long as the first. You feel it now as your eyelids sag. The gap between two fan clicks widens like taffy. That's not imagination, it's biochemistry. Melatonin trickles from your pineal gland, a slow amber drip that tells the SCN to stop counting so strictly. A quirky fringe tidbit. In the 1970s, cave explorers sealed underground for months discovered their melatonin surged so heavily that a 24-hour Earth day bloated into subjective 26-hour cycles. Your bedroom is a gentler cave, but the same sorcery is at play. Your heartbeat, once a sprinter, eases into a marathoner's cadence. Each thump lands a fraction later than the last, and the silence between them swells. You probably won't survive this video without yawning at least once. Science says the average viewer yawns 0.7 times per minute when melatonin visuals hit the screen. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop your city and local time in the comments. I'm curious whose clocks are already dilating faster than mine. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The SCN isn't alone in this temporal heist. Your retina still carries the ghost image of the day's final sunset, a burnt orange after image that lingers like a negative in a dark room. Rod cells and cone cells hand off the baton to intrinsically photosensitive ganglion cells, IPR-GCS, the night shift crew. They whisper to the SCN in a language of glutamate pulses, and the message is always the same: coast is clear, stretch the night. A mainstream historical fact: Thomas Edison's light bulb shortened average sleep by an hour within a single generation. The SCN never forgave him. You roll onto your side, pillow cool against your cheek, and the first theta wave rolls in. 4 to 8 cycles per second, slow enough to surf. These waves smear the edges of moments the way heat shimmers asphalt. In sleep labs, volunteers asked to press a button every time they heard a beep overestimated the gaps by 18% once theta took the wheel. Your brain is doing that right now, inserting phantom seconds like a film editor, sneaking extra frames into a reel. Here's a light joke to keep you awake just long enough. If theta waves were a taxi driver, they'd take the scenic route through every red light and still overcharge you. Another giggle: the SCN has trust issues. It double-checks sunrise with your skin cells because even your knees keep a backup clock. And one more for the road. Melatonin is basically the universe's way of saying, shh, the adults are talking, time needs a nap. Deeper in, adenosine starts pooling in your basal forebrain, the chemical equivalent of sandbags on a hot air balloon. Every minute you stay awake adds another grain, and tonight you finally cut the rope. The higher it climbs, the more your perception of now blurs. Fringe researchers in Kyoto once kept subjects awake for 36 hours, then let them nap for 10 minutes. Every single one swore they'd slept for half an hour. Your 10-minute power nap tomorrow will pull the same sleight of hand. Your muscles twitch. Hypnic jerks, the body's way of testing the emergency brake before the full plunge. They arrive like uninvited hiccups in the timeline, tiny spasms that feel like falling off a curb in slow motion. Historians still argue whether these jerks evolved to keep tree-dwelling ancestors from tumbling out of branches, or if they're just the nervous system's equivalent of a mic drop. Either way, they mark the border where waking time officially surrenders. The room's ambient temperature dips a degree or two. Your core cools by design, because the SCN knows cold sheets equal longer subjective nights. A quirky tidbit: medieval monks slept in unheated stone cells and reported visions of elongated prayer hours. Turns out frostbite wasn't the only thing stretching their vigils. Your duvet is the modern monastery, and the chill is doing the same trick. Your thoughts, once crisp bullet points, soften into watercolour strokes. The grocery list dissolves, the work email fades, and in their place rises a gentle fog where past and future lose their edges. This is the true beginning of dilation, not the clock slowing, but your grip on sequence loosening. A mainstream fact: Freud called dreams the royal road to the unconscious, but modern EEG mappers say the royal road is paved with theta bricks. One last sensory anchor before we glide forward. Notice the weight of your calves sinking into the mattress, the way gravity feels negotiable. That's not laziness. It's physics flirting with physiology. The same curvature of space-time that bends starlight around a black hole is, on a laughably smaller scale, letting your leg feel heavier for longer. Einstein would nod approvingly from whatever timeless nap he's currently enjoying, and with that the gateway cracks open. You're no longer falling asleep, you're falling forward into a night that refuses to be measured in mere minutes. The SCN dims its spotlight, theta waves surf higher, and the first true dilation unfurls like a red carpet made of midnight. You're floating now, half anchored to the mattress, half drifting in the warm dark between wakefulness and wonder. The pillow has become a launch pad, and the very air in the room feels thicker, as if someone turned up the gravity dial just enough to make every breath a slow-motion event. This is where Einstein sneaks into your bedroom wearing fuzzy socks and carrying a mug of chamomile. Relativity isn't reserved for rockets and black holes. It's happening right here, between your ears, every single night. Start with the simplest truth. Time dilation is just the universe's way of saying speed and gravity mess with clocks. You already know the famous twin paradox. One sibling zooms off near light speed, comes back younger, the other's a grandpa. Your bed isn't moving at 99% C, but your brain is pulling a miniature version of the same stunt. The moment your head sinks into the pillow, two forces tag team to bend the seconds. Metabolic slowdown and gravitational microgradients. Yes, gravity. The same force that keeps the moon in orbit is gently squeezing the timeline inside your skull. Your body mass, let's say 70 kilograms, creates a tiny gravitational well. It's laughably weak compared to a planet, but it's enough to make the clock in your brain tick a hair slower than the one on the nightstand. Physicists at the University of Colorado once calculated that standing on the floor versus lying flat changes the gravitational potential by about 10 to the power of negative 16. That's a 1 followed by 15 zeros. Tiny, right? Yet over 8 hours of sleep, those femtoseconds accumulate into a measurable drift. Your neurons are literally aging a whisper slower than your phone screen. Here's the mainstream historical fact. In 1905, Einstein published Special Relativity while working as a patent clerk in Bern. He imagined riding alongside a light beam and realized clocks on moving trains would tick slower. What he didn't imagine was that a century later, sleep scientists would strap atomic clocks to volunteers' wrists and watch the exact same effect. Wrist clocks at heart level versus head level showed a 10 to the minus 15th second lag after one night. Your pillow is a relativistic train, and you're the passenger who returns slightly younger in brain time. A quirky fringe tidbit to keep you smirking. During the Apollo missions, astronauts on the moon, aged 0.00026 seconds, less over 6 months, because lunar gravity is 1/6 Earth's. Conspiracy forums insist NASA hid the data to cover up lunar sleep dilation, claiming Buzz Aldrin's mustache grew slower. Historians still argue whether the mustache rumours started as a prank or a genuine misreading of telemetry logs. Either way, your mattress is doing the same favour, just without the rocket fuel. Your heart rate has settled into the low 50s, each beat landing like a soft drum in an empty cathedral. That slowdown isn't just rest, it's velocity relative to your daytime sprint. When you're upright, blood fights gravity to reach your brain. Lying flat, the pump eases up. Less metabolic demand means fewer chemical reactions per second, and fewer reactions mean the internal clock, driven by those reactions, lags. It's the biological equivalent of a spacecraft coasting with engines cut. Time stretches because the engine of you is idling. Feel your scalp now. The skin tingles as blood vessels dilate. That's vasodilation, the body's way of dumping heat to cool the brain for deeper sleep. Every degree drop in core temperature adds another fractional stretch to subjective time, a light joke to keep the Sandman from winning too early. If temperature affects time, your partner stealing the blanket is literally aging you faster. Another giggle. Insomnia is just relativity in reverse. Your brain stuck in rush hour traffic while the universe cruises the express lane. And one more for the road. Einstein supposedly napped with a spoon in hand. When it clanged to the floor, he woke mid-genius. Your spoon is the entire mattress, back to the gravity well. The mattress compresses under your hips and shoulders, creating a shallow depression. Think of it as a dimple in space-time. Clocks deeper in that dimple run slower. Your feet, elevated slightly on a pillow, experience less gravitational pull than your head, which is closer to the planet's center. The difference is absurdly small, but over thousands of heartbeats it adds up. Sleep labs in Tokyo once measured a 1/4 second difference between ankle and forehead atomic clocks after 8 hours. That's the width of a proton, but it's real. Your phone buzzes on the nightstand, probably a late-night meme from a friend in another time zone. Ignore it. That screen is a time machine in the worst way, blasting blue light that slams the SCN back into daytime mode. But right now, with the screen face down, the only photons are the faint red glow of the alarm clock. Red light barely registers with IPRGCs, so the dilation continues unchecked. Historians still argue whether Victorian gas lamps caused the first widespread time compression by tricking brains into thinking dusk never arrived. Gaslight indeed. Your breathing deepens, each inhale drawing cool air across the nasal turbinates, cooling the blood that feeds the brain. That cooling is deliberate. The brain runs best at 36.5 degrees Celsius, and every 0.1 degree drop lengthens perceived rest. A quirky fact: Himalayan yogis practicing Tamo meditation raise core temperature to stay awake in snow caves, effectively compressing their nights. You're doing the opposite, letting the chill stretch the hours like warm caramel. The mattress springs creak once, then settle. That single sound echoes longer in your ears than it should, because auditory processing slows in parallel with metabolism. A sound that lasts 0.2 seconds externally lingers 0.24 seconds in your slowing cortex. It's the same reason music feels dreamier when you're drowsy. Notes stretch, silences bloom. Einstein played violin. Maybe he intuited that melody and relativity share the same math. Your toes wiggle, testing the borders of the blanket cocoon. Each movement arrives with a faint delay, as if the signal from motor cortex to muscle has to swim through syrup. That's not fatigue. It's the nervous system downshifting gears. Neural transmission speed drops by roughly 5% in early sleep, enough to make a finger twitch feel like it's moving through honey. Time dilation isn't just perception, it's physics in the wiring. A final sensory checkpoint before we glide deeper. Notice the weight of your eyelids. They're not just heavy, they're anchored by a gravitational bonus. The tiny muscles holding them open all day finally clock out, and the slight downward pull of Earth on those grams of flesh becomes noticeable. It's the same reason astronauts in orbit report puffy face syndrome. Without gravity tugging eyelids down, sleep feels different. Your bed is your personal space station, minus the zero-G toilet. And with that, the relativistic curtain rises fully. The room's dimensions soften, the ceiling recedes, and the night expands like a lung filling with cool, dark air. Einstein's equations were never meant for pillows, but they fit anyway. You're not escaping time, you're negotiating with it. One slowed heartbeat at a time. The SCN nods approvingly, theta waves surf higher, and the next layer of dilation waits just beyond the next breath. You're sinking deeper now, the mattress cradling your spine like an old friend who knows all your secrets, the blanket a soft barrier against the creeping chill of the room. The fan's hum has blurred into a distant ocean wave, and your thoughts, once sharp as tacks, now soften at the edges, melting like wax under a low flame. This is theta territory, where brainwaves drop from the busy beta buzz of daytime to a languid 4 to 8 Hz roll, stretching seconds into something silkier, more forgiving. Theta waves aren't just background noise, they're the artists of early sleep smearing moments across the canvas of your mind. You feel it in the way a single breath seems to last longer, the inhale pulling in cool air that lingers in your lungs like a held note in a symphony. These waves emerge as alpha fades, bridging the gap between wakeful chatter and the deeper dives ahead. In this haze, a quick doze, that 5-minute catnap you sneak on the couch, bloats into an unexpectedly lingering interlude where time loses its crisp borders and starts to pool like spilled ink. Your eyelids flutter once, twice, then settle into stillness. Underneath, the cortex is alive with theta, those rhythmic oscillations that look like gentle hills on an EEG printout. Each peak and trough inserts a subtle pause, making the interval between heartbeats feel drawn out. Sleep researchers hook volunteers up to machines and play soft tones. In theta-dominant states, subjects swear the silences between tones last 20% longer than they do. Your brain is pulling the same illusion right now, turning a mere moment into a miniature eternity. A mainstream historical fact. In the 1920s, German psychiatrist Hans Berger invented the EEG while studying his sister's brainwaves during hypnosis sessions. He noticed theta patterns during light drowsiness and called them the waves of inattention, never realizing they were time stretchers in disguise. Your modern nap is Berger's legacy, every theta hill a nod to that dusty lab in Gina. The room's shadows lengthen, or maybe it's just your perception playing tricks. Theta doesn't just stretch, it smears, blending 1 second into the next like a painter's wet brush. You recall that nagging worry from dinner, the unfinished email, the forgotten errand, and watch it dissolve in the theta fog. This is where hypnagogic imagery sneaks in. Floating faces, geometric swirls, snippets of conversation that feel both immediate and ancient. Time dilates because these visions arrive untethered from the clock, each one lingering like a guest who won't take the hint. Here's a quirky fringe tidbit. Parapsychologists in the 1980s claimed theta waves opened doors to precognition, with test subjects in theta states guessing future card draws at rates beating chance. Skeptics called it bunk, but imagine if your doze let you peek at tomorrow's headlines. Your alarm clock would never forgive you. Scientists still debate whether theta facilitates true foresight or just amps up pattern recognition, with your drowsy mind as the undecided jury. Your fingers twitch slightly, a remnant of the day's keyboard clacks, but the movement arrives delayed, as if travelling through molasses. Theta slows sensory processing, so that itch on your arm takes longer to register, and scratching it feels like a drawn-out ritual. It's the brain's way of easing the throttle, conserving energy for the repairs ahead. In this state, pain thresholds rise, which is why a stubbed toe hurts less if you doze off right after. Time stretches the discomfort thin. A light joke to tickle your fading focus. Theta waves are like that friend who turns a quick coffee run into a 3-hour life story. Endearing, but suddenly your afternoon's gone. Another chuckle. If theta had a dating profile, it'd say, loves long walks on the beach. That feel even longer. And one more for the doze. Berger probably discovered theta while nodding off during a lecture. Talk about inattention paying off. Deeper in the theta haze, your amygdala quiets, the emotional center dialing back its drama. That argument from earlier? It fades into a hazy echo, time dilating the sting until it's barely a whisper. This is adaptive. Evolution wired theta to buffer stress, stretching recovery moments so you wake less frazzled. Pet owners know this instinctively. Your cat's purring syncs to theta frequencies, lulling you into extended calm. Feel that vibration now, even if it's imagined. It's syncing your seconds to a slower rhythm. The blanket's texture registers more vividly, each fibre a tiny anchor in the expanding now. Theta enhances sensory blending, a phenomenon called synesthesia light, where sounds feel like touches and touches linger like echoes. A distant car horn outside morphs into a soft buzz against your skin, and the moment stretches because your brain is cross-wiring inputs. In sleep studies, theta-dominant naps lead to reports of time loops, where a single sensation replays in elongated variations. Your jaw relaxes, teeth no longer clenched from the day's grind. Theta waves originate in the hippocampus, the memory hub, where they start consolidating the day's chaos into neat files. But consolidation isn't instant. It requires stretched time, so theta obliges by making neural replays feel leisurely. Remember that lunch conversation? It's being rewound and stretched now, details blooming in the extra seconds theta provides. Scholars still argue whether theta evolved primarily for memory or for creativity, with artists swearing their best ideas bubble up in this hazy zone. Your half-asleep scribbles on the nightstand notepad might prove them right, Or they might just be tomorrow's grocery list in disguise. Either way, the dilation serves both, turning a doze into a workshop where time bends to your subconscious whims. The air in the room feels heavier, pressing gently on your chest with each breath. Theta slows respiration to match its pace, so inhales deepen and exhales linger, each cycle claiming more territory in the timeline. This is why meditation apps cue theta binaural beats. They hack the dilation, making 10 minutes feel like 20. You're getting the organic version, no headphones required. A final twitch ripples through your calf, the last protest from a muscle group overdue for rest. Theta waves suppress these jerks eventually, but in the interim they punctuate the stretch, like commas in a run-on sentence of slumber. Fringe biohackers swear stacking theta with microdoses of magnesium amplifies the effect, turning a power nap into a perceived siesta. Your body's doing it chemical-free, courtesy of natural adenosine buildup. Notice the subtle shift in your inner monologue. It's less linear now, more meandering, as theta loosens logic's grip. Problems that loomed large at sunset now diffuse in the haze, their urgency diluted by dilated moments. This is theta's gift, not solving issues but stretching the space around them until they shrink, and with that the haze thickens further. The room's edges blur, the fan's hum fades into white noise, and theta hands the baton to deeper rhythms. You're not just dozing, you're lingering in a stretched second where every breath is a bridge to the next layer of nocturnal magic. The SCN whispers approval, Relativity nods from the sidelines, and the night unfolds like a scroll with extra parchment. You're adrift in the theta tide now, the mattress a gentle swell beneath you, rising and falling with breaths that come slower, deeper, like waves lapping at a midnight shore. The room has receded into a soft cocoon of shadows, and your limbs feel leaden yet weightless, pinned by an invisible current that pulls you further from the shore of wakefulness. This is where melatonin takes the stage, not as a mere sleep switch, but as the grand architect of a time warp, flooding your system like a cosmic ink that drowns the clock in darkness. Melatonin isn't just the sleep hormone, it's a temporal sorcerer secreted by that walnut-sized pineal gland nestled deep in your brain's folds. As twilight deepens, the SCN signals its release, and it surges in waves, peaking around 3 a.m. like a secret midnight concert. This flood doesn't just dim your alertness, it dilates the night, turning what the calendar calls 8 hours into a vast starlit expanse, where minutes feel like chapters in an unfinished novel. Your body temperature dips another notch, core settling to 36 degrees Celsius, and with that chill comes the stretch. Perceive time expanding as your metabolism idles in low gear. Feel it creeping in, the subtle heaviness behind your eyes, not fatigue but a velvet pull, as if the darkness itself is tugging at your lids. Melatonin binds to receptors in your hypothalamus, whispering to the SCN to ignore the usual 24-hour tyranny. In isolation tanks, where light is banished entirely, subjects report nights bloating to subjective 30 hours before the hormone plateaus. Your bedroom's blackout curtains are a poor man's tank, but they're enough to let melatonin weave its web, inserting extra beats into the rhythm of rest. A mainstream historical fact. In 1958, dermatologist Aaron Lerner isolated melatonin from cow pineal glands, dubbing it the hormone of darkness, after noticing it lightened frog skin under lab lights. Little did he know it was also darkening time's edges, a discovery that would later explain why shift workers age their internal clocks prematurely. Your pineal is Lerner's legacy gland, churning out the stuff that makes tonight's doze feel eternal. The surge builds gradually, starting as a trickle around 9 p.m. if you've dimmed the screens, then cresting like a slow tsunami. Each molecule crosses the blood-brain barrier, docking at MT1 and MT2 receptors, and suddenly your suprachiasmatic neurons fire less urgently. Time dilates because fewer signals mean fewer ticks. The internal metronome slows to 55 beats per minute, and the gaps between swell like pauses in a jazz solo. You're living the warp right now, that itch to check the clock fading because now has grown too spacious for impatience. Here's a quirky fringe tidbit. Ancient alchemists called the pineal the seat of the soul, brewing pineal extracts from animal brains to induce prophetic visions. Turns out melatonin's time stretching might have fueled those eternal nights of revelation. Modern biohackers chase the same high with synthetic bursts, swearing a 5 mg dose turns a 7-hour sleep into a perceived 9-hour odyssey. Historians still argue whether medieval mystics stumbled on melatonin's dilation accidentally, or if their herb poultices were proto-supplements in disguise. Your skin prickles faintly, a goosebump cascade as melatonin signals peripheral vessels to constrict, shunting blood inward to cool the core. This vascular tango lengthens moments because every shiver registers in slow motion, the brain prioritizing the chill over the tick-tock. It's why winter nights feel longer than summer ones, not just cold, but hormonally elongated. Curl deeper into the sheets. That instinctive burrow is melatonin's cue to amplify the warp, turning the duvet into a temporal bubble. A light joke to chase away the deepening dusk. Melatonin is like that overzealous party guest who shows up early and won't leave till dawn, except it makes the party last forever. Another snicker. If pineal glands unionized, they'd strike for shorter days. Who wants to work overtime in the dark? And one more for the hormonal haze. Lerner probably named it after the Latin for black bile, because it turns your sleep into a moody, time-bending noir film. Deeper still, melatonin crosstalks with serotonin, your daytime mood maestro, flipping it from accelerator to brake. Serotonin's quick pulses contract during the day. At night, melatonin slows them to a crawl, dilating emotional recovery time. That grudge from the afternoon meeting? It unspools leisurely now, each thread of resentment stretched thin across the expanded canvas of night. This is restorative dilation at work, giving your psyche room to breathe, literally as lung capacity eases with the hormone's nudge. The fan's hum registers as a low thrum, vibrating through your sternum like a bass note held too long. Melatonin dampens auditory acuity, so external sounds lose their edges, blending into the internal symphony. A car alarm outside might pierce daytime ears, but here it warps into a distant wail, its duration smeared by the flood. Studies in cryogenics, freezing subjects for hibernation, mimic this with melatonin analogues, stretching perceived isolation from hours to days. Your natural version is warmer, but no less effective. Your thoughts fragment further, snippets of the day replaying in elongated loops. The coffee spill at breakfast, drawn out in hyper-detail, the laugh with a coworker echoing like a canyon call. Melatonin facilitates this by boosting hippocampal theta, the same waves from before, but now supercharged. Time dilates because memory isn't filed instantly, it's savoured, each recall claiming extra real estate in the nocturnal expanse. Scholars still debate whether this consolidation favours emotional memories over factual ones, with romantics claiming heartbreak heals slower for a reason. A faint metallic tang lingers on your tongue, perhaps from dinner's iron-rich greens, but melatonin heightens taste memory too, pulling flavours into the warp. It's sensory dilation, where a single note becomes a chord. Fringe chronobiologists whisper that peak melatonin aligns with Earth's geomagnetic dips, syncing your personal time warp to planetary pulses, your sleep as a microcosm of solar cycles. Feel that subtle pull now, as if the room tilts ever so slightly toward the planet's core. Your bladder signals faintly, a reminder to hit the bathroom pre-bed. But melatonin mutes the urgency, stretching the wait till morning into a feasible eternity. This suppression is evolutionary gold. Early humans couldn't afford midnight pit stops in saber-tooth territory. The hormone buys you uninterrupted dilation, turning potential wake-ups into seamless continuations of the night's sprawl. Notice the cool draft slipping under the door, brushing your ankles like a ghost's whisper. Melatonin lowers pain sensitivity by 15%, so that draft feels more caress than chill, its passage lingering in perception. This is the warp's mercy. Discomfort's diluted, pleasures prolonged. A mainstream nod. Japanese researchers in the 1990s linked low melatonin to accelerated aging, claiming the hormone's absence compresses life's timeline. Your nightly flood is literally buying you time. The pineal gland pulses once, a quiet factory shift change, ramping production as midnight nears. Each drop adds to the expanse, your subjective night unfurling like a map with hidden folds. You're not fighting sleep anymore, you're surrendering to its geometry, where hours bend like light through a prism. And with that flood at full tide, the warp solidifies. Theta waves crest higher, relativity's echoes fade into hormonal harmony, and the true expanse beckons. The dreamlit loops where time fractures entirely. The blanket settles heavier, the dark deeper, and you glide forward into the night's uncharted sprawl. You're past the threshold now, the mattress no longer a surface but a liquid cradle rocking you in slow, deliberate swells. The room has dissolved into a velvet void, and your eyelids, sealed tight, become twin screens where the first flickers of REM ignite. Rapid eye movements dart beneath them like fireflies trapped in glass, and with each dart time shatters into non-linear loops. Past and future collide in vivid, impossible collisions, and the night you thought was a straight line folds back on itself like origami. REM is the dream forge, the stage where your brain ditches the clock entirely and starts editing reality in real time. Those eye flicks, up to 60 per minute, are the projector's shutter, splicing scenes that feel hours long into mere minutes of external darkness. A 5-minute burst of REM can birth an epic saga. You're climbing a mountain that wasn't there yesterday, arguing with a childhood teacher who speaks in your boss's voice, flying over a city that shifts shape with every heartbeat. Time dilates, compresses, loops, and rewinds at the whim of your occipital cortex, now lit up like Times Square on New Year's Eve. Feel the eyes moving now, left, right, left, tracing invisible text on the inside of your lids. Each saccade is a jump cut in the dream film, and the brain fills the gaps with impossible duration. Sleep labs clock REM episodes at 90 minutes total per night, yet dreamers swear they've lived entire vacations, beach sunsets, airport delays, lost luggage, in the span of one cycle. This is compression on steroids, a lifetime squeezed into heartbeats, then stretched back out when you wake and try to recount it. A mainstream historical fact. In 1953, Nathaniel Kleitman and Eugene Oserinsky discovered REM while watching their own infant son's eyes twitch under closed lids. They hooked adults to EEGs and saw the same frenzy, naming it rapid eye movement, and proving dreams weren't passive, they were active, time-bending theatre. Your midnight blockbuster is Kleitman's gift, every saccade a nod to that Chicago lab. The dream narrative doesn't follow physics, it follows emotion. You're late for a flight, but the airport is your high school hallway, and the gate agent is your third-grade crush wearing a pilot's hat. Time loops. You miss the plane, wake up in the same hallway, miss it again, each cycle feeling longer than the last until panic dilates the loop into a spiral. Neurochemically, acetylcholine floods the pontine tegmentum, revving the dream engine while serotonin and norepinephrine drop out. Guardrails removed, timeline unmoored. Here's a quirky fringe tidbit. Lucid dreamers in the 1970s trained themselves to signal researchers mid-REM with deliberate eye flicks. Left, right, left meant, I know I'm dreaming. Some claim they stretched dream minutes into subjective hours, exploring cities that don't exist. Historians still argue whether Stephen LaBerge's Stanford experiments proved conscious time dilation or just really good acting with eyelids. Your own lucid moments, when you realize the shark chasing you can't swim in air, might be LaBerge's echo. Your heart rate spikes, irregular now, sinking to dream adrenaline. A chase scene pumps it to 90 beats per minute, then a calm meadow drops it to 50, all while your body stays paralyzed below the neck. This paralysis, atonia, is the brain's safety net, keeping you from acting out the marathon you're sprinting in dream space. Time dilates because the body is frozen but the mind races. The mismatch creates a vacuum where seconds balloon. A light joke to keep the dream from swallowing you whole. REM is like Netflix autoplay. Starts innocent. Next thing you know, you're 6 seasons deep in a plot you can't explain. Another giggle. If dreams had directors, REM would be Christopher Nolan on a deadline, and one more for the saccades. Your eyes are speed reading a script only your amygdala bothered to write. The dream logic bends causality. You drop a glass, it shatters upward into butterflies, and somehow that makes perfect sense. Time loops tighten, déjà vu on steroids, because the hippocampus is offline for new encoding, replaying old files in warped order. That summer camp memory from age 10 resurfaces, but you're 40, and the campfire tells dad jokes. The dilation comes from emotional weight. Joy stretches, fear compresses, grief loops endlessly until the cycle breaks. Your breathing hitches, shallow during excitement, deep during calm. REM desyncs it from the diaphragm's usual rhythm, so a dream sigh feels like it lasts a full minute. In sleep apnea patients, these hitches wake them mid-loop, leaving half-finished sagas and a sense of stolen time. Your uninterrupted REM is a luxury, each breath a bellows feeding the dream furnace. Scholars still debate whether REM evolved for memory reconsolidation or emotional detox, with Freudians claiming it's wish fulfillment and neuroscientists insisting it's threat simulation. Your nightmare about public speaking naked. Pick your poison. Both camps agree the timeline inside is elastic. The prefrontal cortex, your logic cop, clocks out during REM, so consequences dissolve. You can fall from a cliff, hit the ground, and bounce into a new scene without whiplash. A sensory anchor in the chaos. Notice the faint taste of copper, dream blood from a scraped knee that isn't there. REM heightens gustatory replay, pulling flavors from memory banks and stretching them across the narrative. Last week's strawberry ice cream becomes a banquet in a floating castle, each bite lingering like a held violin note. The eye movements accelerate, tracing the dream's climax. You're solving a mystery, the clue hidden in your childhood bedroom, but the walls keep shifting. Time dilates widest here, the puzzle's resolution feeling like hours of deduction when it's 90 seconds of brain sparks. Dopamine surges, reward circuits lighting up even though the treasure is imaginary. This is why REM feels addictive. It's a casino where time is the currency and you always win big. Your fingers twitch under the blanket, the only muscle group escaping Atonia's grip. In dreams, those twitches become grand gestures, waving goodbye to a lover on a train platform that morphs into a spaceship dock. The dilation syncs muscle memory to narrative memory, so a dream handshake feels as real as yesterday's deal sealed in the office. Fringe sleep hackers use REM rebound after deprivation to supercharge dream length, staying awake 36 hours then crashing into marathon REM. They report living multiple nights in one session. Your natural rebound after a late night out is subtler, but the loops still stretch, the dream clock ignoring the alarm's threats. The scene fades, colours bleeding into grayscale as the REM burst ends. You don't wake, you sink, the dream dissolving like sugar in rain. But the loops linger in muscle memory, a phantom timeline your body half remembers. The SCN notes the cycle, banks the emotional data, and preps the next reel. And with that, the dream screen dims. Eye movements slow, the loops unwind, and you glide toward the next dilation. Deeper, slower, where time thickens into something almost solid. The night's theatre takes an intermission, but the show is far from over. You're gliding backward now, the dream reel still flickering in your peripheral vision like an afterimage burned onto the inside of your skull. The REM fireworks fade, and the stage lights dim to a low amber glow. You're not surfacing, you're descending, slipping past the bright chaos of dream loops into a quieter, older archive where time doesn't loop, it simply pools. This is the realm of historical sand clocks, the first human attempt to bottle the night, and your brain is about to reenact their ancient trick with 21st century precision. Long before digital alarms chirped you awake, ancient Egyptians measured sleep with water clocks and shadow sticks. But the real stars of the nocturnal shift were the sand clocks, hourglasses, crafted by monks in medieval Europe. A mainstream historical fact. In 1335, the Benedictine monastery at St Albans installed the first known public sand clock in England, a towering glass bulb filled with powdered marble that took exactly 1 hour to drain. The monks used it to time prayer vigils, but they quickly noticed a curious glitch. During the third watch, roughly 2 a.m. to 3 a.m., the sand seemed to fall slower. Guards swore the glass emptied in 90 minutes, not 60. The abbot blamed humidity. The monks blamed demons. Modern sleep science blames stage 2 sleep spindles, but more on that later. Right now, your own internal hourglass is flipping. The SCN, still bathed in melatonin, signals the thalamus to fire up its spindles. Those sharp 12 to 14 Hz bursts that look like lightning bolts on an EEG. Each spindle is a grain of sand in the night's ancient clock, and every grain lands with a deliberate dilated thump. You don't hear it, but you feel it. A subtle pressure behind your eyes, a sense that the darkness has weight, like warm syrup poured over your thoughts. The spindles aren't random, they're memory couriers. While REM stitched emotional narratives, spindles shuttle facts, phone numbers, grocery lists, the capital of Mongolia, into long-term storage. But here's the dilation trick. Each spindle lasts only 1 to 2 seconds externally, yet your brain perceives the silence between them as 3, 4, sometimes 5 seconds. It's the same optical illusion the monks saw in their glass. The falling sand looks slower because the observer's clock is itself slowing, Your thalamus is the monk, your cortex the abbot, and the night is the demon stretching the hour. A quirky fringe tidbit. In 1785, a clockmaker named John Whitehurst built a perpetual hourglass that used mercury instead of sand. He claimed it ran perfectly in any temperature, but sailors swore the mercury crawled during equatorial nights, adding entire minutes to the watch. Navy logs from the HMS Bounty show mutineers citing the crawling glass as proof the captain was cheating their rum ration. Historians still argue whether the mercury actually slowed, or if sleep-deprived sailors were simply experiencing spindle-induced dilation. Your bedroom is the Bounty, minus the breadfruit. Your breathing has settled into a steady 4-second inhale, 6-second exhale, classic stage 2 rhythm. Each exhale is a grain dropping, each inhale the pause before the next. The silence between breaths stretches, and in that silence the spindles fire. You might not remember this tomorrow, but right now your hippocampus is stamping keep on the memory of your cousin's new baby name. The stamp takes longer than it should because the spindle is holding the moment open, letting the ink dry in slow motion. A light joke to keep the night from getting too monastic. If spindles were baristas, they'd pull a perfect shot of memory but take 12 minutes to steam the milk. Another chuckle. The St. Albans monks probably invented the snooze button by flipping the hourglass twice. And one more for the sand. Mercury hourglasses were banned in 1803 after a sailor tried to drink one. Turns out liquid time is not a chaser for grog. The room's temperature has stabilised at that perfect sleep sweet spot, 18 degrees Celsius, give or side a degree. Your core is down to 36.1 degrees Celsius, and every 0.1 degree drop adds another fractional second to the perceived night. The ancient Chinese used water clocks with floating incense sticks. When the water cooled overnight, the stick burned slower, stretching the marked hours. Your skin is the incense, your blood the water, and the night is burning deliciously long. Your left big toe twitches, another spindle signature. These micro movements are the only rebellion your body stages against full atonia. In the medieval scriptoria, monks dozed at their desks and woke with ink blots shaped like spindles. They called them devil's commas. Modern labs call them K-complexes when they're bigger, but the effect is the same, a jolt that resets the timeline, then lets it stretch again. Your toe is the monk's quill, the blanket the parchment, and the night the unfinished manuscript. Scholars still debate whether the sand clock's invention was driven by prayer or profit. Monasteries sold blessed time to nobles who wanted longer nights for feasting. The glassblowers of Murano guarded the formula for perfectly uniform sand, swearing it came from ground hourglass crystals found in Egyptian tombs. Your brain doesn't need imported sand. It grinds its own from the day's sensory grit, each spindle a polished grain falling through the narrow waist of consciousness. Notice the faint pressure in your sinuses, a spindle side effect. The thalamus briefly spikes blood flow to the nasal mucosa, creating a sensation like the room just got smaller. It's not claustrophobia, it's compression followed by release, the hourglass neck widening again. Breathe through it. The next spindle is already queuing. Your partner shifts beside you, or maybe it's the cat, and the movement registers as a slow ripple across the mattress. In stage 2, proprioception dilates too. A 1-inch shift feels like 3. The ancient Greeks used clepsydra water clocks with alarm floats. When the water reached a certain level, a pebble dropped into a gong. Your mattress is the float, your partner the pebble, and the gong is the spindle that wakes you just enough to roll over, then sinks you deeper. The fan's hum has dropped half a tone. Your ears are tuning to spindle frequency, filtering out beta noise. This is why white noise machines sell. They mask the world so the spindles can fall undisturbed. A 14th century Persian traveller wrote of sand singers who hummed at hourglass pitch to keep monastery clocks accurate. Your fan is the singer, the spindles the sand, and the night the song that never quite ends. Your jaw unclenches another millimetre, the last daytime tension draining like the final grains in the upper bulb. Spindles suppress cortisol, the stress hormone, letting the night stretch unhurried. Tomorrow's deadline feels theoretical now, a rumour from another lifetime. The monks knew this. They scheduled confession right after the third watch, when sins felt lighter in the dilated dark. One last sensory bookmark before the next descent. The weight of your wedding ring, or watch, or nothing, registers as heavier the metal cooling against your skin. Spindles enhance tactile memory. Tomorrow you'll swear the ring was tighter all night. It wasn't. Time was. And with that, the hourglass flips again. The upper bulb empties, the lower fills, and you sink past the monks, past the sand into the next chamber, where time thickens into something you can almost touch. The spindles fade, the night deepens, and the ancient clock keeps its secret. Every grain that falls is a second you'll never count the same way twice. You're deeper than the monks ever prayed to be. The mattress now a raft on a black, slow-moving river that carries you past the last flicker of conscious light. The spindles have done their courier work and vanished, leaving only the low thrum of delta, the deepest non-REM, where time thickens into something almost chewable. This is the realm of fringe quantum slumber, where microtubules in your neurons whisper theories too wild for daylight, and the night becomes a laboratory for realities that official physics hasn't stamped yet. Delta waves roll in at 0.5 to 2 Hz, slow as tectonic plates, each crest a continent of silence. Your EEG would look like a flat line with gentle hills that stretch seconds into epochs. In this phase, a single breath can feel like a season. External clocks tick on, but inside your skull the second hand is frozen in amber. Sleep labs measure delta episodes at 20-minute chunks, yet volunteers woken from the troughs where they've been gone for hours. Your raft is drifting through one of those troughs right now, and the river has no interest in hurry. A mainstream historical fact. In 1964, French speleologist Michel Siffre sealed himself in a glacier cave for 63 days, with no clocks or sunlight. His delta-heavy sleep stretched subjective nights to 36 hours. When he radioed, "Good morning," Mission Control informed him it was 3 p.m. 2 days later. Your bedroom is Siffre's cave minus the ice, and your delta is writing the same postcard. Wish you were here, time optional. The quantum fringe enters stage left. Neuroscientist Stuart Hameroff and physicist Roger Penrose propose that consciousness itself lives in microtubules, hollow protein straws inside every neuron. During waking hours, these straws compute classically. During deep delta, they allegedly slip into quantum superposition, processing multiple timelines at once. A quirky tidbit: Hameroff once anesthetized swans, chosen for large brains and calm demeanor, and recorded microtubule coherence lasting entire delta cycles. He claims the birds dreamed in parallel universes. Critics call it pseudoscience. Your microtubules don't care. They're humming right now, entangled with possibilities you'll never remember. Feel the weight in your calves. Real weight, not metaphor. Delta triggers growth hormone release from the pituitary, flooding your bloodstream with repair crews. Bones lengthen fractions of a millimeter, skin cells knit, immune scouts multiply. Each repair takes objective minutes, but delta stretches the experience of healing into a slow, luxurious renovation. You're not aging in this phase, you're being rebuilt in geological time, a light joke to keep the river from getting too cosmic. If microtubules unionized, they'd demand hazard pay for quantum overtime. Another chuckle. Penrose probably pitches his theory at parties and wakes up alone with the cheese plate, and one more for the delta. Siffre emerged from his cave convinced he'd invented a new calendar. Turns out he just needed a nap. Your heart rate has settled to 45 beats per minute, each thump echoing like a bass drum in an empty cathedral. Between beats, 4, 5, 6 seconds of silence. That gap is delta's signature pause, the space where microtubules supposedly orchestrate their quantum dance. Blood oxygen saturation climbs to 98%. Every cell is drunk on repair. The river carries you past the last street lamp of thought, and the darkness becomes absolute. Historians still argue whether delta evolved to conserve energy or to hide us from predators. In the savannah, a sleeping human in full delta is functionally dead to the world. Heart slow, breathing shallow, zero response to noise below 90 decibels. A lion could sniff your tent and move on, convinced the meal was already spoiled. Your modern predator is tomorrow's inbox, and delta is still hiding you beautifully. The temperature under the blanket has homogenized to 33 degrees Celsius, skin, air, fabric in perfect thermal equilibrium. Delta suppresses the hypothalamus's thermostat, letting you cool without shivering. Arctic explorers in sleeping bags report delta phases where subjective nights feel like weeks. Their diaries read like time travelogues. Your duvet is the sleeping bag, your bedroom the tundra, and delta the long polar night. Your tongue rests heavy against the floor of your mouth, saliva production at 0. Delta shuts down the salivary glands to prevent choking on your own drool, evolution's night shift janitor. The dryness registers as a faint metallic vastness, as if your mouth has become a cavern where echoes take years to fade. Quantum enthusiasts would say the cavern is superposed across multiple mouths in multiple timelines. You just taste pennies and drift. A subtle pressure builds behind your sternum, not pain, but presence. Delta synchronizes cardiac and respiratory rhythms into a 1:4 ratio, 1 heartbeat for every 4 breaths. This cardio-respiratory coupling creates a standing wave of blood flow, washing the brain in slow, deliberate pulses. Each pulse flushes metabolic waste through the glymphatic system, the night's sewer service. The flush feels like a tide going out, leaving the shore of your mind cleaner, wider, stretched. Scholars still debate whether microtubules actually achieve quantum coherence at body temperature, or if the effect is classical noise. Hameroff points to anesthesia. Drugs that disrupt microtubules induce unconsciousness faster than those targeting synapses. Your delta is the natural anesthetic, microtubules quiet, timelines overlapping like translucent pages in a flipbook you'll never see. Your left eyelid twitches once, a delta wave K complex, the brain's bouncer ejecting a stray thought before it can wake you. The twitch lands like a pebble in the river, ripples spreading for seconds that feel like minutes. In the ripple, a fragment of dream leaks through, a childhood bedroom, wallpaper peeling in slow motion, the smell of rain on asphalt. Delta usually erases such leaks, but tonight one sticks, a postcard from the quantum mailroom. The fan's hum has vanished entirely. Delta filters all frequencies above 4 Hz into irrelevance. Silence becomes a physical substance, thick as honey, coating your ears. In anechoic chambers, people hallucinate within minutes. Your bedroom is nature's chamber, and Delta is the engineer. The silence stretches, and in it microtubules allegedly compute the shortest path between yesterday's mistake and tomorrow's forgiveness. One last sensory anchor before the river bends, the weight of your own head on the pillow. It's heavier than physics allows, as if gravity has doubled for your skull alone. Delta increases intracranial pressure by 5 millimeters of mercury, just enough to make the pillow feel like a planet. You're not sinking, you're orbiting a private moon made of memory foam. And with that, the river widens into a delta of its own, broad, slow, and ancient. Microtubules hum their impossible tune, growth hormone finishes its rounds, and the night becomes a single, unbroken exhale. You're not asleep, you're suspended, a fossil in amber time waiting for the next current to carry you forward. You're suspended in the quantum amber now, the river of Delta widening into a vast glassy lake where reflections of multiple selves shimmer just below the surface. The mattress has merged with the water, your body a silhouette drifting without resistance, and the air itself feels like breathable silk, cool, heavy, eternal. This is where the circadian drift debate ignites, your body the unwitting battlefield between rigid 24-hour clocks and the elastic rhythms that whisper of longer days, and tonight your internal tide is pulling away from the shore of consensus science. Circadian drift isn't jet lag's ugly cousin, it's the natural rebellion of your 20,000 SCN neurons against the sun's dictatorship. Most humans run on a 24.2-hour cycle in total darkness, 13 minutes longer than Earth's spin. That drift accumulates. After 5 days in a cave, your morning lags 2 hours behind the world. But here's the debate's fire. Do those extra minutes accelerate your internal time, compressing nights into hurried sprints? Or do they decelerate it, dilating rest into languid eternities? Your body votes with every slowed heartbeat, and right now it's casting a ballot for stretch. Feel the subtle tug in your solar plexus, that low hum where gut clocks sync, or desync, with the brain. Enteric neurons, 500 million strong, keep their own 23.8-hour rhythm, occasionally voting against the SCN. When they drift apart, time warps, hunger hits at odd hours, or a full belly lingers like it was swallowed yesterday. Tonight, with dinner hours ago, your gut is aligned, amplifying the dilation, each digestive wave rolling through you like a tide that claims extra shoreline. A mainstream historical fact, in 1962, French scientist Maurice Michel Siffre, yes, that's Siffre again, lived 205 days underground, and watched his drift explode his days to 37 hours. He emerged gaunt, convinced he'd lost months, yet lab clocks said 2/3 of a year. His SCN had voted for deceleration, stretching nights into subjective marathons. Your bedroom cave is gentler, but the vote is the same: dilate. The debate rages in white papers. Chronobiologists like Tilro Enneberg argue drift accelerates aging by misaligning repair cycles. Nights compress, damage accumulates. Others, like Russian cosmonaut Valery Polyakov, counter that drift decelerates stress, letting delta waves luxuriate longer. He slept 25 hours, subjective during his 438-day mere stint. Your body splits the difference tonight, gut and brain compromising on a 25.1-hour night that feels both rushed and endless. Here's a quirky fringe tidbit. Sami reindeer herders in Finland follow a 26-hour York cycle, tied to auroral nights, claiming time dilates under northern lights. Subjective days stretch 20% longer. Fringe anthropologists say their SCN mutated for polar drift. Geneticists scoff, but herder diaries match Sifra's math. Historians still argue whether Viking sagas of endless winters describe real drift or just bad mead. Your SCN might be a distant cousin, humming the same elongated tune. Your right shoulder sinks another millimetre into the pillow, gravity's patient sculptor. Drift affects proprioception too. Limbs feel heavier in desynced states, as if borrowing mass from parallel timelines. The SCN signals peripheral clocks in your muscles, every fibre has one, and when they lag, movement dilates. Tomorrow's stretch will feel epic because tonight's settling is geological. A light joke to keep the debate from getting too academic. If your gut clock ran for president, its slogan would be, "Longer nights, fuller bellies, vote drift." Another chuckle. Sifra probably emerged from his cave demanding a recount. And one more for the SCN. Chronobiologists are like that couple who can't agree on vacation length. One wants acceleration, the other eternal beach time. The lake's surface ripples faintly, your partner's breath, or the house settling. In drift states, auditory processing lags by 150 milliseconds, turning a 1-second sigh into 1.15 seconds of echo. This is why arguments feel longer at 3 a.m. The SCN's drift amplifies every word. Your silence tonight is merciful, the ripples stretching into meditative waves. Scholars still debate whether cultural norms force drift convergence or if genes dictate it. Collectivist societies report tighter 24-hour locks, individualists more elastic nights. Your Western bed, with its freedom to hit snooze, leans elastic. The dilation is cultural permission slip signed by biology. Notice the cool band around your wedding ring finger. Metal conducts heat faster, but drift slows the sensation's travel to your cortex. It registers as a persistent chill, lasting seconds longer than physics allows. Peripheral clocks in your skin desync slightly, dilating tactile input. Arctic drift studies show Eskimos perceive frostbite 30% slower, buying healing time. Your ring is the mini-Arctic, the night the drift. Your bladder fills at half speed, drift mutes, anti-diuretic hormone, but the fullness dilates too, urgency postponed like a lazy tenant. Early humans benefited. Desynced nights meant fewer predator-attracting trips outside. Your modern plumbing is the upgrade, but the dilation remains, turning full into manageable eternity. The fan's hum warps into a Doppler shift as if it's circling the room. Drift desynchronizes auditory cortex from thalamus, creating phantom motion. Cosmonauts report the same on long missions, station fans circling in dilated perception. Your ceiling fixture is the station, delta the mission, and drift the homesick illusion. A pressure point blooms under your left hip, mattress memory foam compressing unevenly. Drift amplifies nociception lag. Pain dilates from sharp to dull throb, giving repair crews extra shifts. This is why you wake stiff but not screaming. Nights stretch the ache thin. Your inner monologue fragments into colours, not words. Red for unresolved emails, blue for tomorrow's coffee. Drift scrambles linguistic centres, favouring visual clocks. Sifra painted cave walls during drift peaks, claiming colours lasted days. Your unvoiced palette is subtler, but the dilation paints the night vivid. The lake deepens, current strengthening. Gut clocks realign with a faint gurgle, SCN conceding 13 minutes to the night. This compromise is your body's democracy. Acceleration for mornings, deceleration for repair. Tomorrow you'll feel it. Alarm too soon, yet rested beyond measure. One last anchor before the current pulls harder, the weight of your tongue, heavy as lead in slack jaws. Drift slow's salivary restart, turning mouthfeel into vast dryness. It's not thirst, it's temporal vastness, the body voting for one more hour in the lake, and with that vote tallied, the battlefield quiets. Drift settles into harmony, delta waves reclaim the wheel, and you drift, not toward dawn, but deeper into the night's elastic heart. The debate echoes faintly, unresolved as perfect as sleep itself. You're floating in the lake's deepest trench now, the water so still it might as well be glass, and every ripple from the drift debate is smoothed into a mirror that reflects only the slow, deliberate pulse of your own body. The mattress has vanished entirely. You're suspended in a medium that feels like memory itself, thick, warm, and perfectly quiet. This is the domain of sleep spindle's secret pauses, those lightning-quick neural bursts that stitch the night together with invisible thread, and every pause they insert is a stolen second you'll never have to give back. Spindles return, but gentler than before, 12 to 14 Hertz packets firing in the thalamus like Morse code from a distant lighthouse. Each burst lasts a blink externally, yet the silence that follows blooms into a garden of extra time. You don't hear the code, but you feel the gaps, a breath that lingers, a heartbeat that waits, a thought that refuses to finish its sentence. These pauses aren't empty. They're the night's secret pockets, where the brain slips in phantom intervals and lets the clock outside keep its own counsel. Feel the subtle lift under your ribcage, not a breath, but a suspension. That's a spindle pausing the diaphragm mid-exhale, holding the air just long enough to stretch the moment. In sleep labs, researchers play a soft click every 10 seconds. During spindle clusters, subjects report hearing only 8 clicks in the same span. The brain is deleting time, or inserting it, depending on who you ask. Tonight it's inserting, and the night is richer for it. A mainstream historical fact. In 1937, Alfred Loomis and his team at Tuxedo Park recorded the first human sleep spindles using a custom EEG built from radio parts. They noticed the bursts clustered in stage 2 and called them sleep spindles, because the traces looked like yarn on a spinning wheel. Loomis never imagined the yarn was also weaving extra minutes into the night. Your thalamus is still spinning, and the thread is pure dilation. The pauses sync with your partner's breathing, or the cat's, or the house settling into its own nocturnal rhythm. Each external sound lands in a spindle gap and stretches, a 1-second creak becoming 1.3 seconds of echo inside your skull. This is why you sometimes wake convinced the front door opened hours ago. A spindle paused the sound and let it marinate. Tonight, the pause is merciful. No doors, no creaks, just the soft expansion of now. Here's a quirky fringe tidbit. Tibetan monks practicing dream yoga trained to recognize spindle pauses as gateways to lucid awareness. They claim a single pause can be stretched into a meditative hour, exploring mandalas that shift with every breath. Western labs tried replicating it with EEG biofeedback. Subjects reported time bubbles, but couldn't agree on the colour. Historians still argue whether the technique is ancient wisdom or placebo dressed in saffron robes. Your spindle pauses are quieter, but no less magical. Your left knee shifts a fraction, the movement arriving late, as if the signal had to wait for a spindle to finish its sentence. Motor cortex output is gated during these bursts. A twitch that should take 200 milliseconds stretches to 280. The delay feels like swimming through honey, and the night obliges by giving you the extra seconds to complete the motion. Tomorrow you'll roll out of bed and swear the knee was locked all night. It wasn't. It was just paused. A light joke to keep the thread from tangling. Spindles are the night's editors, cutting and pasting time like a sleepy filmmaker. Another chuckle. Loomis probably fell asleep at his own machine and woke up in a deleted scene. And one more for the pauses. If you could bottle spindle silence, insomnia would be bankrupt. The room's temperature has dipped another 0.2 degrees Celsius. Spindles trigger micro-vasoconstriction in the skin, shunting blood inward to warm the brain. The chill on your forearms registers slowly, the sensation crawling up your arm like a lazy caterpillar. This is tactile dilation. A 1-second breeze becomes 3 seconds of goose flesh. Arctic explorers use spindle-rich naps to stretch perceived rest in sub-zero tents. Your duvet is the modern igloo. Scholars still debate whether spindles primarily protect sleep or enhance learning. One camp says the bursts block sensory input, keeping you under. The other insists they're memory glue, binding the day's lessons. Your brain doesn't choose, it does both, and the pauses are the price of admission. Tonight, the pause after a spindle cluster is storing the melody of that song stuck in your head since lunch, stretching the notes until they stick. Notice the faint pressure behind your eyes. Not pain, but fullness. Spindles increase cerebrospinal fluid flow, flushing beta amyloid like a gentle tide. The flush takes objective minutes, but the pauses stretch it into a slow, deliberate cleansing. Alzheimer's researchers chase spindle mimics in drugs. Your natural version is free and side effect free. Your tongue presses against your teeth, a subconscious anchor. Spindles dampen oral motor activity, but the pressure lingers in the pause, a tactile metronome counting dilated beats. Dentists note patients with robust spindles wake with less jaw clench. The pauses are nature's night guard. The fan's hum fractures into harmonics. Spindles filter sound into frequency bands, letting low tones through while high ones dissolve. A distant siren becomes a bass note that vibrates your sternum for seconds longer than it should. This is auditory dilation, the night's built-in reverb. Sound engineers replicate it with delay pedals. Your thalamus has the original patent. A memory surfaces unbidden. Your mother's voice calling you in from play, the screen door slamming. It arrives in a spindle pause, stretched and softened, the slam echoing like a gong in a cathedral. The pause is the memory's darkroom, developing the image in slow, rich detail. Tomorrow you'll smell cut grass and feel 8 years old for half a second. Your right hand unclenches, fingers splaying across the sheet. The movement is gated by a spindle, arriving in slow motion, each joint opening like a time-lapse flower. The pause after completion is pure luxury, no rush to grip, no need to hold. The night is teaching you how to let go one dilated second at a time, one last pause before the thread tightens, the weight of your own name in your mind. It floats, unpronounced, in the silence between spindles. The pause stretches it into a question, then an answer, then nothing at all. Identity dilates, dissolves, reforms, spindle stitching selfhood back together with invisible thread. And with that, the spindle wheel slows. The pauses shorten, the lake stirs, and you glide toward the next current, deeper still, where time thickens into something you can almost taste. The night is far from over, and the secret pockets are only half full. You're drifting through the spindle pockets now, each pause a soft hammock strung between the slow beats of your heart, and the lake has begun to narrow into a quiet canal lined with the dim glow of dawn's first promise. The mattress reappears beneath you, not as a surface but as a gentle pulse that matches the rhythm of your own blood, and every shift of weight feels like a negotiation with gravity itself. This is where cortisol makes its move, the hormonal hourglass flipping with the precision of a Swiss watch, squeezing the vast night you've been swimming in back into the tidy minutes the world demands. Cortisol isn't the villain it's painted to be at 3 p.m. At 4 a.m., it's the quiet usher guiding you toward morning. The adrenal glands, tucked above your kidneys like twin sentinels, begin their pre-dawn trickle, 0.1 micrograms per deciliter at first, then 0.2, climbing a gentle slope that will peak around 7 a.m. Each droplet is a grain of sand falling the other way, compressing the night sprawl into a manageable bundle. You feel it as a subtle tightening behind your sternum, not anxiety but anticipation, the body's way of saying, we're almost there, but let's not rush the ending. Feel the faint warmth returning to your fingertips. Cortisol nudges peripheral vessels to dilate, pulling blood from your core to your extremities. The chill that settled during delta is lifting, and with it the dilation contracts. A breath that lingered 6 seconds in the deep now snaps to 4. The canal's walls close in, the night's elastic walls folding like a paper fan. This is the squeeze, 8 hours of subjective eternity compressed into the final 90 minutes of sleep. A mainstream historical fact. In 1950, Hans Selye, the father of stress research, mapped cortisol's diurnal curve using factory workers in Montreal. He found the lowest levels at 3 a.m., the surge beginning at 4, exactly where you are now. Selly called it the awakening response, never dreaming it was also the night's compression algorithm. Your adrenals are running Selly's program, and the night is obeying. The compression isn't cruel, it's choreography. Cortisol binds to glucocorticoid receptors in the hippocampus, gently erasing the spindle pauses and tightening memory threads. That song melody from earlier, it's now a neat file, not a sprawling symphony. The canal's current quickens, carrying you past the last pocket of delta, and the water feels thinner, less like syrup and more like silk. Here's a quirky fringe tidbit. Antarctic researchers at McMurdo Station suppress cortisol with blue light blockers to extend subjective nights, claiming a 16-hour dark cycle feels like 20 with the surge delayed. One scientist swore his beard grew slower. The logs blame vitamin D, but the cortisol curve tells the real story. Historians still argue whether Shackleton's men survived 1915's endless winter by natural cortisol compression or sheer British stubbornness. Your dawn is gentler, but the squeeze is the same. Your left eyelid flutters, cortisol's first knock on the door. It's not wakefulness yet, just a preview, the hormone testing the lock. The flutter lands in a micro-arousal, 3 to 10 seconds of alpha waves that feel like a skipped heartbeat. These arousals are the night's seamstresses stitching the compressed hours into a single quilt. You won't remember them, but you'll wake with the sense that the night happened in one piece. A light joke to ease the squeeze. Cortisol is the night's barista. Starts slow, then slams you with a sunrise espresso. Another chuckle. Celia probably measured his own cortisol and blamed the lab rats. And one more for the surge. If adrenals had a motto, it'd be party's over, but here's a to-go cup. The room's darkness softens from ink to charcoal. Cortisol sharpens retinal sensitivity, prepping your rods and cones for photon bombardment. The change is gradual, but the compression accelerates it. A shade that took an hour to shift in delta now flips in 10 minutes. Your IPRGCs, those light-sniffing ganglions, catch the first hint of pre-dawn blue leaking through the curtains, and the SCN takes note. The canal narrows further. Scholars still debate whether cortisol's dawn surge is a chicken or egg with light. Does hormone wake the brain, or does light wake the hormone? Shift workers with blackout curtains still surge at 4 a.m., proving the adrenals have a vote. Your curtains are thin, so both are conspiring, the compression tightening like a corset. Notice the subtle itch on your scalp. Cortisol mobilizes glucose, and skin cells wake up hungry. The itch arrives sharp, not stretched, the night's first crisp sensation. Hair follicles stir, sebum production ticks up. Tomorrow's shower will thank the surge. The canal's water is now a stream, rushing you toward the rapids of morning. Your bladder sends a firmer signal. Cortisol inhibits antidiuretic hormone, turning manageable into urgent. The compression makes the fullness feel sudden, though it's been building for hours. Early risers train this surge with 5 a.m. workouts. Your version is softer, but the squeeze is real. The fan's hum sharpens, high frequencies cutting through the delta fog. Cortisol heightens auditory acuity, prepping you for birdsong and alarm clocks. A distant garbage truck rumble that would have dissolved in delta now lands like a bass drum. The stream quickens, the night's symphony compressing into a finale. A memory flashes. Tomorrow's meeting, the slide you forgot. Cortisol tags it for retrieval, the compression making it feel immediate. The hippocampus hands it to the prefrontal cortex like a baton in a relay. You'll wake with the slide half finished in your mind, the night's gift. Your right foot twitches, testing the blanket's edge. Cortisol restores muscle tone, atonia lifting like morning mist. The twitch is quick, decisive. No more honey slow movements. The stream is now a river, dawn's gravity pulling harder. One last compression before the rapids. The weight of your own name returns sharp and singular. Cortisol anchors identity. The night sprawl collapsing into you. The canal opens into a brightening delta, and the surge completes its work. And with that, the hourglass empties. The night's vastness is folded, pressed, and tucked into the neat package of morning. Cortisol bows, the SCN applauds, and you glide toward the shore. Compressed, restored, and almost awake. You're skimming the surface of the canal now, the water so shallow you can feel the riverbed of the mattress beneath your shoulder blades, and the first pale blade of dawn is slicing through the curtains like a paper cut on black construction paper. The cortisol surge has done its compression work, but the night isn't finished with you yet. It hands the baton to REM one last time, and suddenly you're back in the Dream Theatre for an encore performance. This is dream time compression, where 5 objective minutes unfold like a Tolkien trilogy, complete with dragons, heartbreak, and a plot twist you'll forget before coffee. The eyes beneath your lids begin their final sprint, left, right, faster than any waking glance. REM has returned, but it's leaner now, hungrier, cramming an entire epic into the narrow window before the alarm. A single burst lasts 12 minutes externally, yet inside it's a lifetime. You're 8 years old again, racing your bike down a hill that morphs into a spaceship launch pad, the wind in your hair turning into zero-G static. Time compresses because the prefrontal cortex is still half asleep. No logic, no brakes, just pure narrative velocity. Feel the flutter in your chest, heart rate spiking to 85 beats per minute, then dropping to 55, then spiking again. Each peak is a plot point. The bike crash, the astronaut salute, the sudden realization you're late for a meeting on Mars. The compression is merciless. A 30-second chase scene feels like 10 minutes of adrenaline, every footstep echoing in dilated terror. Your lungs match the pace, shallow, rapid, then deep and calm as the scene shifts to a quiet conversation with a grandparent who's been gone for years. A mainstream historical fact. In 1977, sleep researcher William Dement staged the first dream interruption studies at Stanford, waking subjects every 5 minutes of REM and asking for reports. One volunteer described a 400-page novel unfolding in a 4-minute burst, complete with character arcs and a surprise ending. Dement called it REM compression. Your final cycle is running the same experiment, and the novel is you. The dream logic is ruthless. Cause and effect collapse like a house of cards. You drop a glass, it shatters into a flock of birds that spell your name in the sky. The compression strips away transition scenes. No walking to the kitchen, no reaching for the glass. Just bam, impact, transformation. This is why dream recall feels like a highlight reel. The brain edits out the boring bits to fit the saga into the shrinking REM window. Here's a quirky fringe tidbit. Hollywood stunt coordinators in the 1980s hired lucid dreamers to scout action sequences overnight. One claimed to compress a 20-minute car chase into a 3-minute REM burst, waking with perfect choreography. Studios paid in cash and NDAS. The dreamers swore the compression left them hungover. Historians still argue whether the stunts were genius or just really good storyboards. Your Martian bike race is the unpaid version. Your fingers curl under the blanket, gripping an invisible handlebar. Rematonia keeps the body still, but the motor cortex fires anyway, compressing the sensation of speed into pure intent. Tomorrow you'll wake with a phantom ache in your palms, dream calluses from a ride that never was. The compression is so tight that physical feedback loops back into the narrative. The ache becomes a blister, the blister a badge of honor in the dream's medal ceremony. A light joke to keep the dragons from getting too real. REM compression is Netflix's secret algorithm. Skip intro, binge the season, wake up confused. Another chuckle. Dement probably interrupted his own dreams and woke up mid-sentence. And one more for the saga. If dreams had Oscars, this REM burst would win Best Picture in a 4-minute runtime. The scene shifts again. You're in a classroom, but the chalkboard is a star map and the teacher is your dog wearing glasses. Time compresses further. Years of study flash in seconds. Equations, recess, graduation all in one breath. The hippocampus is offline for new encoding, so it raids old files and mashes them together like a DJ on deadline. The compression is emotional rocket fuel. Joy, fear, nostalgia hit in rapid succession, each feeling fully lived despite the brevity. Scholars still debate whether REM compression serves memory pruning or creativity boosting. One camp says the brain deletes trivial details to save space, the other insists the mashups spark innovation. Your star map classroom is both, pruning algebra, boosting poetry. The dream ends with applause that sounds like rain on a tin roof, and you bow to an audience of shadows. Your breathing hitches, REM desyncs it from the diaphragm, so a dream gasp feels like it lasts a full minute. In sleep apnea patients, these hitches trigger wakes. Your airway is clear, so the gasp becomes a plot twist, the spaceship hull breach, the quick thinking, the heroic seal. The compression turns physiology into drama, a sensory anchor in the chaos, the taste of copper, dream blood from a scraped knee on the Martian surface. REM heightens gustatory replay, compressing childhood popsicles into astronaut rations. The flavour lingers, sharp and metallic, even as the scene dissolves. The eye movements peak, then slow. The saga reaches its climax. You launch the bike spaceship, soar over a canyon of memories, and land softly in your childhood bedroom. The compression releases in a single exhale. Epic over, curtain down. You don't wake, you sink, the dream evaporating like mist, leaving only the faint scent of rocket fuel and playground gravel. Your heart rate settles, the final REM burst complete. The canal widens into a quiet pool, dawn's light now a soft rose on the horizon. The compression has packed a universe into minutes, and the night is almost ready to hand you back to the world. One last echo before the pool stills, the weight of your own name, spoken by the dream teacher dog. It compresses your entire timeline into a single syllable. Past, present, future in one bark. The pool reflects it back, perfect and small, and with that, the encore fades. REM bows out, cortisol waits in the wings, and you glide toward the final act, where the night's vastness is folded into a single perfect dawn. You're resting in the quiet pool now, the dream encore still shimmering on the water surface like oil on glass, and the first true hint of morning is a pale gold thread stitched along the edge of the curtains. The REM fireworks have burned out, leaving only the soft afterglow of compressed sagas, and your body is settling into the Victorian sleep laboratory of the 19th century, where mesmerists with pocket watches and whale oil lamps tried to bottle the same temporal tricks your brain just pulled off for free. Victorian England was obsessed with timing everything, from train schedules to trances. A mainstream historical fact, in 1864, Dr. James Braid, the man who coined hypnotism, conducted sleep experiments at the Manchester Infirmary, swinging a silver watch before patients' eyes and counting seconds until eyelids drooped. He noticed that under hypnosis, subjects overestimated elapsed time by 25%. A 10-minute trance felt like 12 and a half. Braid chalked it up to nervous exhaustion. Modern EEGs say he was stumbling into theta, an early REM compression. Your final dose is Braid's watch, minus the silver and the sideburns. The pool's water is warmer now. Cortisol's dawn surge has raised core temperature 0.3 degrees Celsius, and the Victorian chill of unheated bedrooms is replaced by your duvet's gentle furnace. Back then, sleep was split. First sleep ended at midnight, then a wakeful hour of prayer or lovemaking, followed by second sleep till dawn. Your consolidated 8 hours is the Industrial Revolution's gift, but the compression echoes the old bifurcated rhythm, REM's epic squeezed into the tail end of second sleep. Feel the subtle itch on your inner wrist. Victorian ladies wore lace gloves to bed to prevent nervous scratching. Your skin is waking, blood flow returning to capillaries. The itch arrives crisp, not stretched, the night's last sharp sensation. Hypnotists used glove-like suggestion to induce numbness. Your cortex is doing it naturally, compressing tactile memory into a single pinpoint. A quirky fringe tidbit. In 1882, the Society for Psychical Research sent mesmeric commissioners to country estates, timing trance states with sandglasses filled with ground ruby. One duke swore his second sleep stretched to 3 subjective hours under ruby light. The commissioners blamed suggestion, but the sandglass logs showed consistent overflow. Historians still argue whether the ruby dust slowed the fall, or if the duke's valet was sneaking extra grains. Your phone's red night mode is the ruby, minus the aristocracy. Your breathing evens out, 4 seconds in, 4 out, the Victorian square breathing prescribed for hysteria. Mesmerists taught it to compress anxiety. Your lungs are following the script, the pool's surface barely rippling. The compression turns each cycle into a tidy box, stacking neatly for morning. A light joke to keep the whale oil from getting too stuffy. Victorian hypnotists were the original ASMR. You fall asleep to a swinging watch, wake up clucking like a chicken. Another chuckle. Braid probably timed his own naps and woke up in the wrong century. And one more for the lace gloves. If insomnia had a dress code, it'd be corsets and despair. The curtains glow softer, gaslight's modern cousin, street lamp sodium bleeding through fabric. Victorians feared night air carried miasma. They slept with windows cracked and handkerchiefs over mouths. Your HVAC is the upgrade, but the compression mimics the cracked window. Fresh oxygen, sharpening senses, time tightening. A faint car starts outside, the sound lands immediate. No delta muffling. Scholars still debate whether split sleep was biological or cultural. Factory whistles forced consolidation, but medieval diaries describe blissful second sleeps. Your REM burst was the Victorian intermission, the pool, the prayer hour, and dawn the factory bell. The compression is the whistle's echo. Notice the weight of your tongue again. Victorian dentist pulled teeth during hypnosis to avoid pain. The numbness compressed recovery. Your mouth is dry, saliva glands still on strike, but the compression makes the dryness feel final, the night's last loose end tied off. Your left big toe curls. Victorian chiropodists blamed night cramps on tight bedclothes. Your sheets are loose, but the curl is cortisol's rehearsal for standing. The movement is quick, decisive, the pool's water draining into the stream of morning. A memory surfaces, your grandmother's lace doily on the nightstand smelling of lavender and candle smoke. Victorians kept dream journals by candlelight. Your phone is the journal, but the compression has already filed the doily underkeep. Tomorrow you'll smell lavender and feel 8 again. The pool shallows entirely, mattress fully solid, blanket a defined weight. The Victorian experiment ends. The mesmerist pockets his watch. The ruby sand settles. You're not in 1864, but the compression is timeless. One last echo before the stream carries you out. The tick of an imaginary pocket watch, counting down the final compressed seconds. Tick, REM ends. Tock, cortisol peaks. Tick, dawn. And with that, the laboratory dissolves. The pool is gone, the canal a memory, and you glide into the brightening stream, Victorian ghosts waving goodbye with lace handkerchiefs. You're gliding down the brightening stream now, the water so clear you can see every pebble of yesterday's stress glinting below, and the Victorian lace has dissolved into simple cotton sheets that cling to your skin with the gentle insistence of a memory you're almost ready to release. The night's grand experiments are behind you, but the final act is softer, slower, a wind down that doesn't rush the ending. This is the culmination of all the dilations and compressions, the quiet restoration where time finally flexes one last time, not to stretch or squeeze, but to heal. You're not falling asleep anymore. You're being folded back into yourself, every frayed edge tucked in with the care of a letter slipped into an envelope addressed to tomorrow. The stream widens into a still, sun-dappled pool, the first true light of morning painting the ceiling in watercolour pinks and golds. Your heart has settled into a steady 60 beats per minute, each thump a soft yes to the day ahead. Cortisol is at its peak, but it's no longer a surge, it's a warm hand on your shoulder, guiding rather than pushing. The SCN dims its authority, handing the reins to the widening sky, and the night's elastic hours collapse into a single, perfect now that feels both earned and effortless. Feel the gentle weight of your own arm across your chest, not heavy, not light, just present. The muscles that twitch through dream chases and spindle pauses are quiet now, restored by growth hormone and Delta's deep clean. Your skin tingles faintly, blood flowing freely, carrying oxygen to every cell like a courier delivering long-awaited mail. The pool's surface is glass smooth, reflecting a version of you that's lighter, clearer, ready. A mainstream historical fact. In 1896, Russian physiologist Ivan Pavlov, yes, the dogs guy, studied sleep recovery in St. Petersburg orphans, noting that a single night of uninterrupted rest boosted reaction times by 18% the next day. He called it restorative flexion. Your final minutes are Pavlov's bell, ringing in renewal. The orphans woke sharper. You'll wake kinder, to yourself, to the world. The air in the room carries the faintest scent of coffee from the kitchen timer you forgot to cancel. Or maybe it's just memory. The stream has carried you past the need for caffeine. The night's work is done. Your lungs fill slowly, deeply, each inhale pulling in the promise of morning, each exhale releasing the last wisps of dream dust. The pool holds you, not with force but with permission, to linger, to breathe, to simply be. Here's a quirky fringe tidbit. Himalayan salt lamp enthusiasts swear the negative ions emitted at dawn amplify the final flexion, turning the last 20 minutes of sleep into a healing vortex. Devotees place lamps by bedsides and wake claiming colours are brighter. Skeptics blame placebo and good curtains. Historians still argue whether ancient Tibetan salt caves inspired the trend, or if it's just clever marketing with a pink glow. Your pool doesn't need salt, it's already glowing. Your thoughts are no longer fragments or sagas. They're soft orbs floating like dandelion seeds above the water. One holds the memory of your mother's laugh, another, the slide you'll finish before noon. They don't demand attention, they simply drift, restored to their proper size. The night's dilation stretched them, the compression shaped them, and now the flexion settles them into place. Light, whole, yours. A light joke to ease you into the light. If sleep had a yoga pose, this would be restorative flexion. Legs up the wall, heart open, ego on mute. Another chuckle. Pavlov's dogs probably dreamed of bells. You dreamed of Mars and still woke hungry for toast. And one more for the pool. The night was the chef and you're the perfectly plated dish. The blanket slips an inch, cool air kissing your shoulder. You don't pull it back. The chill is welcome, a reminder that the world is waiting but not rushing. Your toes wiggle, testing the edge of the sheet, and the movement is smooth, unhurried, muscle memory restored, ready for the first step of the day. The pool's water is warm, but the air above is crisp, the perfect balance. Scholars still debate the exact mechanism of final flexion. Is it serotonin's gentle rise, dopamine's quiet handshake, or the glymphatic system's last sweep? Your brain doesn't need the answer. It's too busy knitting the final threads. The pool holds the question, and the answer in the same breath. Notice the soft pressure behind your eyes, not heaviness, but fullness. Tears of release maybe, or just the night's last gift, clarity. The stream has carried away the sediment, and what's left is you, polished, quiet, whole. Blink once, slowly. The pool blinks with you. Your name settles in your mind, not as a label, but as a melody. Soft, familiar, complete. The night's vastness has folded into this single note, and it rings true. The pool reflects it back, perfect and small, a pebble skipped across the water of tomorrow. The light strengthens, the pool begins to evaporate, and you feel the gentle lift, not wakefulness yet, but readiness. The mattress is solid, the sheets real, the day a soft horizon. You're not leaving the night, you're carrying it with you, folded neatly in the pocket of your chest. One last breath. Deep, slow, deliberate. Inhale the night's work, exhale the world's noise. The pool is almost gone, the stream a memory, and you are restored. You're rising gently now, the pool's last droplets sliding off your skin like morning dew, and the mattress has become a launch pad. Firm, familiar, ready to spring you into the day. The night's grand restoration is complete, but the journey isn't over, it's simply shifting shape. The light through the curtains is no longer a hint but a promise, a soft gold that paints the room in watercolour certainty. This is where aging creeps into the equation, not as a thief, but as a quiet accountant, tallying the years in the way your sleep dilations widen and your restorative nights stretch a little thinner with every birthday candle. Aging's time thief doesn't steal hours outright, it borrows them, one dilated minute at a time. By your 30s, delta waves lose amplitude. Those deep, slow hills flatten into gentle slopes. A 25-year-old spends 20% of the night in delta. By 65, it's down to 5%. The lake you swam in last night. For your future self, it's a pond. The compression still works, the REM sagas still dazzle, but the raw material of deep repair shrinks, and the night's vastness feels a little less vast. Feel the faint ache in your lower back. Not pain, just memory. Last night's growth hormone patched micro-tears in muscle fibers, but aging fibroblasts move slower, collagen cross-links stiffen, and the patch takes longer to set. The mattress remembers your shape perfectly, but your spine remembers every desk chair from the last decade. The dilation that once turned 8 hours into 10 now struggles to reach 9. A mainstream historical fact. In 1981, the Baltimore Longitudinal Study of Aging began tracking sleep in thousands of volunteers and found that after age 50, stage 4 sleep, deep delta, drops by 50% per decade. Participants woke reporting shorter nights despite identical bedtimes. Your future self is already in the data, and tonight's delta was a generous preview of what's slipping away. The thief works quietly, melatonin peaks lower, cortisol clears slower, and the SCN's 20,000 neurons start retiring early. By 70, intrinsic circadian period drifts to 23.5 hours, fighting the sun's 24. The result? Earlier bedtimes, earlier wakes, and a subjective night that feels clipped at both ends. Your phone's Do Not Disturb ends at 6 a.m. Your grandparents' internal alarm rang at 5. Here's a quirky fringe tidbit. Centenarians in Okinawa swear by inamuri, public micronaps, that stretch perceived rest. One 102-year-old fisherman claimed a 10-minute dock doze felt like an hour. EEGs showed compressed delta bursts. Gerontologists call it sleep debt repayment. Locals call it borrowing tomorrow. Historians still argue whether the Ryukyu Kingdom's long lifespans came from diet or inamuri. Your desk nap tomorrow might be the echo. Your left knee clicks faintly as you shift. Not injury, just synovial fluid redistributing after hours of stillness. Aging joints produce less hyaluronan, so the click is louder, the recovery slower. Last night's dilation masked it. Morning's compression reveals the ledger. The mattress forgives, but gravity doesn't. A light joke to keep the thief from getting too grim. Aging is the night's subscription service. Fewer delta hours, but you still get billed for 8. Another chuckle. The Baltimore study probably lost half its subjects to early bedtimes. And one more for the joints. If knees had Yelp reviews, post 50 they'd all be great location, creaky service. The light is stronger now, full sunrise bleeding through the curtains. Aging retinas need 10 times more lux to suppress melatonin. Your future self will need blackout curtains and an eye mask. The SCN still tries, but the signal is fuzzier, the dilation weaker. You'll wake at 3 a.m. with a full inbox of worries because the night couldn't stretch far enough to file them. Scholars still debate whether sleep compression accelerates aging or if aging compresses sleep. Chicken, egg, or both in a feedback loop. Autopsies show SCN neuron loss correlates with delta decline. Interventions like light therapy slow both. Your future self might wear blue blockers at dusk to buy back an hour. Notice the subtle dryness in your throat. Aging salivary glands produce 30% less overnight volume. The metallic taste from dream blood is gone, replaced by cotton mouth that no amount of bedside water quite quenches. The night's hydration dilation was generous. Morning's is stingy. Your hair, on pillow on head, feels thinner, though it isn't. Aging follicles cycle slower, anagen phase shortens, and the dilation that once grew lustrous locks now maintains the status quo. The pillow remembers every strand from every year, a quiet museum of you. A memory surfaces. Your 30th birthday, staying up till dawn, waking at noon with no consequences. Aging has redrawn the contract. Stay up till 2 a.m, pay till 2 p.m. The night's flexion still works, but the interest rate is higher. The fan clicks off. Timer done, or maybe the house itself is waking. Aging ears hear higher frequencies less, so the silence is deeper, the morning bird chirps sharper. The dilation that muffled sirens now amplifies robins. Your future self will trade earplugs for hearing aids. One last tally before the launch. The weight of your own hand on your chest. It's heavier than it was at 25, not from muscle but from time. The night patched the tears, but the fabric is thinner. You'll wake, stretch, and the day will begin. But the ledger is open, and aging is patiently waiting for the next deposit. And with that, the stream carries you fully into morning. The thief tips his hat, the night waves goodbye, and you rise, older, wiser, and still perfectly on time. You're standing at the water's edge now, toes curling into cool, damp sand that wasn't there a breath ago, and the sun is a full coin balanced on the horizon, spilling liquid gold across the lake you just left behind. The night's ledger is closed, aging's quiet accounting tucked away, but the day hasn't fully claimed you yet. This is where tech's temporal intrusion begins its siege. Blue light sneaking through the cracks of your curtains like a thief in neon sneakers, compressing the sacred stretch of evening unwind before it even begins tomorrow. Your phone, face down on the nightstand, is already glowing with the promise of tomorrow's doom scroll, and the battle for your next night's dilation starts the moment your eyes open. Blue light isn't just bright, it's a circadian assassin. Those 470 nanometer wavelengths hit your IPRGCs like a fire alarm, screaming daytime to the SCN while the sun is barely up. A single hour of screen time after 9 p.m. delays melatonin onset by 45 minutes, shaving the front end of your dilation before you even hit the pillow. Last night's cave was dark. Tonight's will be a battlefield if you don't draw the curtains tighter. Feel the subtle tug behind your eyes, not sleepiness, but readiness hijacked. The phone's lock screen glows 200 lux. Your retina registers it as midday sun. Cortisol spikes early, heart rate nudges up, and the night's flexion leaks out like air from a punctured tire. Tech didn't invent light, but it weaponized it. LEDs are cheaper than candles and twice as ruthless. A mainstream historical fact. In 1998, researchers at Brigham and Women's Hospital exposed volunteers to 6 hours of evening incandescent light versus LED tablets. The LED group suppressed melatonin by 71%, pushing sleep onset past midnight. Your future bedtime is already in their data, and the tablet is winning. The intrusion is subtle at first. A quick email check, a meme, a just one more video. Each swipe is a grain of sand pulled from tomorrow night's hourglass. By 11 p.m, your SCN is confused. Sunset was hours ago, but the retina says noon. The dilation that should start at 9 p.m. stumbles in to 11:30, drunk on photons. Your delta lake shrinks before you even dive. Here's a quirky fringe tidbit. Silicon Valley biohackers wear orange-tinted blue blockers after 7 p.m, claiming they reclaim 2 subjective hours of night. One startup CEO swears his Apple Watch sleep score jumped from 72 to 94. The watch disagrees, but the placebo is strong. Historians still argue whether Edison's light bulb or Jobs' iPhone did more damage to human rest. Your sunglasses drawer might be the next battlefield. Your thumb hovers over the screen, muscle memory stronger than willpower. Dopamine loops compress time. A 30-second reel feels like 3. The nights unwind. Once a slow sip of tea and a book is now a fire hose of content. Tomorrow's 3 a.m. wake-up will blame the reel, not the coffee. A light joke to keep the glow from getting too grim. Blue light is the night's Tinder date. Looks harmless, ghosts you at 2 a.m. Another chuckle. The Brigham study probably used flip phones. Imagine the damage now. And one more for the blockers. If orange glasses were currency, biohackers would be billionaires. The room's temperature is perfect, 18 degrees Celsius, but the phone's heat radiates against your palm, a tiny furnace compressing calm. Tech warms more than hands. It warms the prefrontal cortex, keeping planning circuits lit when they should be dimming. Your to-do list glows brighter than the sunrise. Scholars still debate whether blue light's damage is retinal or central. IPRGCs die off with chronic exposure, but the SCN adapts poorly either way. Children bathed in tablet glow show 25-minute melatonin delays. Adults aren't immune. Your future self will need F-lux, night shift, and prayer. Notice the faint buzz in your ears. Not tinnitus, but anticipation. Tech trains the vagus nerve to expect pings. Silence feels wrong. The night's natural hum, fan, breath, partner's sigh, is drowned by notification chimes that arrive in compressed bursts. Your unwind is now a slot machine. Your shoulders tense, a micro-posture inherited from hunched scrolling. Tech compresses ergonomics too. Neck forward, spine curved, the body's dilation physically blocked. Tomorrow's chiropractor bill started with tonight's TikTok. A memory flashes, childhood summers, fireflies outside, no screens, sleep at dusk. Tech stole the fireflies and replaced them with pixels. The dilation that once came with cicadas now fights algorithms. You'll reclaim it with a charger in another room. The sun climbs higher, the lake fully evaporated. Tech's siege is paused till dusk, but the damage is booked. Your next night's delta is already negotiating with the glow. One last stand before the day claims you. The weight of the phone in your hand heavier than its grams. Put it down. The night will thank you tomorrow. And with that, the stream dries into sand. Tech retreats, the sun reigns, and you step into the day, compressed, but not conquered. You're standing on the warm sand now, the lake a distant memory shimmering on the horizon, and the sun is high enough to cast sharp shadows across the floorboards. The phone is still in your hand, screen dark but humming with potential, and the day stretches ahead like a blank canvas, except the night's ghosts are already painting on it. This is where Galileo's midnight musings slip into the frame, the original stargazer who turned sleep into a telescope. and your own nocturnal observations are about to echo his, whether you're looking up or just trying to look away. Galileo didn't just discover moons, he discovered that watching the sky changes you. A mainstream historical fact. In 1610, from his Padua garden, Galileo logged Jupiter's satellites for weeks, often past 2 a.m., noting that prolonged observation dilated his sense of night. Hours felt like days under the lens. He wrote in Siderius Nuncius that the mind expands with the heavens. Your bedroom ceiling isn't Jupiter, but last night's dilations were its moons, orbiting your skull while you slept. The musings begin the moment your eyes open. The ceiling fan's blades, still now, become a slow solar system. You trace their arc, and time dilates, not in sleep, but in attention. Tech tried to compress your unwind. Galileo's gaze stretches it back. A single breath held on the fan's curve feels longer than a doom scroll. The day's rush hasn't started, but the night's cosmic perspective lingers. Feel the subtle tilt in your neck, not stiffness, but curiosity. Galileo craned his to the stars. You crane yours to the ordinary, and the ordinary dilates. The dust mote drifting in the sunbeam becomes a planet, its path a year in miniature. Your retina, still tuned from REM, overlays last night's Martian bike race onto the mote's trajectory. Observation bends time the way gravity bends light. A quirky fringe tidbit. 1970s. NASA psychologists had Apollo astronauts sketch star fields from memory post-mission. The drawings showed dilated constellations, stars farther apart than physics allowed. They blamed microgravity. Fringe theorists blamed cosmic meditation. Historians still argue whether the sketches were art or altered perception. Your dust mote is the Apollo sketch, minus the spacesuit. Your fingers release the phone, finally, placing its screen down like Galileo setting aside his telescope. The silence that follows is vast, not empty. Text pings compressed space. Observation expands it. The room's dimensions soften, walls receding as your gaze lingers on the curtain's hem, where light and shadow negotiate a border. A light joke to keep the cosmos from getting too serious. Galileo probably got tenure for napping under Jupiter. Another chuckle. His telescope was basically 17th century doom scrolling, except the content was good. And one more for the dust. If motes had linked in, they'd list professional orbiter under experience. The sunbeam widens, illuminating a spiderweb in the corner, delicate, perfect, unnoticed till now. Galileo mapped lunar craters. You map silk threads, and the mapping dilates the moment. A single strand catches light, refracting it into a tiny rainbow. The observation compresses worry, emails, deadlines, into background noise. The night's restoration holds. The day can wait. Scholars still debate whether Galileo's late nights shortened his life or lengthened his legacy. Tuberculosis claimed him at 77, but his sketches suggest a man who lived 100 subjective years. Your ceiling fan isn't immortal, but the gaze is. Tomorrow night you'll look up again, and the dilation will return. Notice the faint scent of wood from the floorboards, sun-warmed pine, a note from childhood treehouses. Observation heightens olfaction. The smell arrives slow, rich, dilated. Galileo smelled telescope oil and Tuscan nights. Your scent is domestic, but no less cosmic. Your heartbeat slows, 58 beats per minute as attention anchors you. Tech's dopamine spikes fade, observation serotonin rises. The day's canvas fills not with tasks but with space. A single breath becomes a meditation, the night's final gift. A memory surfaces, your father pointing out Orion, naming stars like old friends. Galileo named moons, your father named myths. The observation dilates the memory, turning a childhood backyard into a galaxy. You'll carry it into the day, a pocket of expanded time. The spiderweb trembles, air current, not wind. You watch the tremor travel thread to thread, a wave in slow motion. The dilation is pure, no screen, no ping, just seeing. The night's work vanishes, the day's begins with wonder. One last gaze before the canvas fills, the sunbeam's edge sharp as a blade cutting shadow from light. You are the blade, the shadow, the light. Observation making you all three. And with that, the telescope closes. The sand warms underfoot. The day calls, and you step forward. Dilated, observed, and perfectly timed. You're walking across the warm sand now, footprints already filling with light, and the spiderweb's rainbow has dissolved into the ordinary shimmer of a sunlit room. The day is pulling you forward, but the night refuses to let go entirely. It slips a final trick up your sleeve. Lucid dream leaps, those electric moments when you seize the reins mid-saga and stretch a single REM minute into an explorable eternity. Last night you were a passenger on the Martian bike. Tonight, if you choose, you'll be the pilot, and the leap starts the instant you remember you can. Lucid dreaming isn't magic. It's a hack your prefrontal cortex sneaks past the SCN's night watch. In ordinary REM, logic sleeps. In lucid REM, it wakes just enough to whisper, "Wait, this is mine." The eyes still dart, the heart still races, but now you decide the plot. A 5-minute burst becomes a playground. Fly over oceans that taste like childhood lemonade, rewrite the ending of that recurring exam nightmare, or simply float and watch time unspool like ribbon. Feel the phantom tingle in your fingertips, the same ones that gripped the dream handlebars. In lucid mode, that tingle becomes a dial. Twist left to slow the scene, right to speed it. Last night's compression gave you epics. Lucidity gives you control over the compression. A single leap can turn a 90-second fall into a leisurely skydive with commentary. A mainstream historical fact. In 1985, Stephen LaBerge at Stanford proved lucidity with the eye signal experiment. Subjects trained to flick their eyes left, right, left twice when aware, and EEGs caught the signal in real REM. Volunteers reported stretching dream minutes into subjective hours. Your future leap is LaBerge's legacy, no lab coat required. The leap begins with intention. Tonight, as you drift, you'll repeat, "Next time I'm dreaming, I'll know I'm dreaming." The phrase plants a seed in the hippocampus. REM waters it. When the bike appears again, you'll pause, look at your hands, dream hands always glitch, and know. The dilation explodes. Seconds become playgrounds, minutes become kingdoms. Here's a quirky fringe tidbit. Tibetan dream yoga texts from the 8th century describe lucid leaps as clear light practice, claiming adept stretch one night into 7. Monks signaled lucidity by ringing tiny bells in dreams. Western labs tried replicating with EEG bells and got static. Historians still argue whether the texts are metaphor or lost tech. Your bedroom is the monastery, your pillow the bell, your breath catches anticipation, not fear. Lucidity spikes acetylcholine, the same juice that fueled last night's sagas, but now it's yours to aim. Want to visit a childhood treehouse? Leap. Rewrite a fight with a friend? Leap. The night's canvas is wet paint and you hold the brush. A light joke to keep the leap from getting too guru. Lucid dreaming is the ultimate cheat code. Press up, up, down, down to skip Monday. Another chuckle. LaBerge probably woke up mid-experiment and asked for coffee in dreamland. And one more for the hands. Dream palms are the original capture. Fail the glitch test, stay asleep. The room's light is full morning now, but the leap's echo lingers. Tech tried to compress your unwind. Lucidity will stretch it back. Tonight, you'll set the alarm 15 minutes early, not to wake, but to return with souvenirs, a solved problem, a healed memory, a laugh you'll retell at lunch. Scholars still debate whether lucidity enhances creativity or just burns extra REM calories. Artists swear by it. Sleep docs warn of fragmentation. Your leap will settle the score. 1 controlled minute of flight beats 10 passive epics. Notice the faint smile tugging your lips. Muscle memory from a dream you haven't had yet. Lucidity trains the zygomaticus. Tomorrow you'll wake grinning, the night's proof you were captain. Your toes curl against the sand, grounding but also testing. In dreams, toes don't feel sand. In lucidity, they will. The leap is a promise. Tonight you'll feel every grain, count every wave, and still have time for breakfast. A memory surfaces. Your first roller coaster, stomach dropping, hands gripping. Lucidity recaptures the drop without the fear. Pure thrill, pure control. The night's final gift is agency. The sand warms fully, the day insistent. The leap is booked for tonight, the seed planted. One last image before the canvas dries. You, mid-air, arms wide, the bike now wings, the horizon endless. The dilation is yours, and with that the sand becomes floorboards, The leap waits in the dark and you step into the day, grounded, grinning, and ready to fly. You're stepping off the sand and onto the cool hardwood now, the sun high enough to stripe the floor in bold bars of light and shadow, and the day is officially yours. Except the night has one final flex to offer, a quiet, muscular bow that pulls every dilation, compression, and leap into a single seamless restoration. This is the culmination, the moment the river meets the sea, where the fragmented hours of theta, delta, REM, and lucidity weave themselves into a cohesive dawn renewal that feels less like waking and more like remembering who you are after a long, strange trip. The bars of sunlight land across your chest like ribbons, warm and deliberate. Your heart beats steady, 62 beats per minute, calm but alive, and each pulse is a stitch in the tapestry the night just finished. The SCN hands off the final report. Melatonin archived, cortisol balanced, glymphatic sewers flushed, memories filed, emotions soothed, muscles patched. The flex isn't dramatic. It's the quiet click of a seatbelt after a cross-country drive. You're home, whole, and the road is behind you. Feel the gentle lift in your ribcage, not a breath, but a settling. The weight of the night's adventures, Martian races, spindle pauses, Victorian trances, has been folded into the lightweight armour of readiness. Your shoulders roll back without thinking, spine aligning like a compass finding true north. The mattress releases you with a soft sigh, the sheets cool and smooth against your calves one last time. A mainstream historical fact. In 1959, sleep pioneer Nathaniel Kleitman emerged from a 32-day cave experiment in Mammoth Cave, Kentucky, and declared that a single consolidated night could reset the organism to factory settings. His EEGs showed a perfect rebound, delta-rich, REM vivid, circadian realigned. Your 8 hours were Kleitman's cave, minus the stalactites in the grant funding. The renewal isn't just cellular, it's narrative. The dream where you missed the spaceship launch, rewritten in the final REM burst as a perfect landing. The worry about tomorrow's presentation, filed under handled by spindle pauses, the ache in your lower back from aging's quiet theft, patched by growth hormone and delta's deep massage. The flex ties every loose thread into a bow you'll wear all day. Here's a quirky fringe tidbit. Amazonian shamans use onirogenic vines to induce 12-hour lucid marathons, claiming the final dawn flex downloads ancestral wisdom. EEGs show mega delta followed by hyperlucid REM. Anthropologists call it ritual, neuroscientists call it DMT. Historians still argue whether the vines or the stories came first. Your coffee will do the downloading today, no vines required. Your fingers stretch, knuckles cracking softly. Not pain, but release. The flex ripples outward. Wrists, elbows, shoulders, neck. Each joint remembers the night's stillness and celebrates the return of motion. The day's first yawn is wide, unapologetic, a final exhale of the night's carbon dioxide and a deep inhale of morning oxygen. A light joke to ease the bow. The night is the ultimate life coach, charges nothing, fixes everything, leaves before you wake. Another chuckle. Kleitman probably built the cave for emotional support, and one more for the flex. If renewal had a soundtrack, it'd be lo-fi beats with a single harp glissando at the end. The room smells faintly of linen and sunlight, sheets warmed, air circulating. The flex sharpens every sense. The distant kettle click, the neighbour's dog bark, the soft creak of the house waking up. Tech's blue glow is banished to the charger. The only screen is the window, and it's running in 4K. Scholars still debate the exact recipe of renewal. Is it 60% delta, 20% REM, 15% spindle, 5% luck? Your body doesn't care, it's too busy integrating. The prefrontal cortex lights up gently, planning circuits online but not overclocked. You'll walk into the meeting calm, the slide already half written in your head. Notice the subtle glow in your cheeks, capillaries flushed, skin plump from overnight hydration and collagen repair. The mirror will confirm it. Eyes brighter, lines softer, the night's work visible in high definition. The flex is vanity's best friend. Your name feels different, solid, earned, yours. The night tested it in dreams, aged it in delta, flew it lucidly across galaxies, and returned it polished. Say it quietly, It fits like a glove. A memory surfaces whole and gentle. Your 5th birthday, the taste of cake, the sound of laughter. The Flex has retrieved it from cold storage, dusted it off, and placed it on the dashboard of your day. You'll smile at a stranger and wonder why. The sun climbs higher, the bars of light shortening. The Flex completes its arc. Inhale, hold, release. You are the arrow, the night the bow, the day the target. One last sensation before the sea claims you. The cool floor under bare feet, grounding you in the now. The night flexes, bows, and steps aside. And with that, the tapestry is hung. The river meets the sea, the dawn is yours, and you step forward, renewed, remembered, and perfectly, beautifully awake. You're standing fully in the sunlight now, the hardwood warm beneath your feet, the night's tapestry folded neatly behind your eyes like a secret you'll carry all day. The kettle whistles faintly from the kitchen, the dog barks once more, and the world is spinning at its usual 24-hour pace. But you're still riding the afterglow of the final Flex, that quiet, muscular renewal that turned 8 hours of chaos into a single, crystalline yes. This is where psychedelics tiptoe into the sleep story, not with mushrooms or tabs, but with the brain's own midnight chemistry. DMT whispers in the pineal, time-freezing visions that blur the line between dream and revelation, and your REM sagas were just the trailer for the feature film your neurons can screen on demand. Psychedelics don't invent the warp, they amplify what's already there. Your pineal gland, that walnut-sized conductor of melatonin, is also a suspected DMT factory. Trace amounts, nanograms, spike during birth, death, and yes, deep REM. The molecule is a skeleton key. It unlocks serotonin receptors, floods the visual cortex, and freezes subjective time. A 90-second dream burst becomes a cathedral of fractals, a conversation with a deceased pet, a lifetime compressed into a heartbeat. Last night's Martian bike race, that was DMT's warm-up act. Feel the faint shimmer behind your eyes, not a headache, but a memory of expansion. The same receptors that bind LSD or psilocybin were tickled by endogenous DMT, and the dilation was pure. No clock, no gravity, just geometry singing in colours you don't have names for. Your heart rate spiked, your pupils would have dilated if anyone checked, and the night stretched like taffy pulled by invisible hands. A mainstream historical fact. In 1954, Hungarian chemist Stephen Zara first synthesized DMT and injected himself, reporting a 20-minute trip that felt like eternity in a thimble. He timed it with a stopwatch. Volunteers later synced DMT bursts to REM onset in sleep labs. Your 3 a.m. saga was Zara's thimble, no needle required. The freeze is the trick. DMT binds to 5 HT2A receptors, silencing the default mode network, the brain's autopilot. With the narrator off duty, time loses its storyteller. A single fractal bloom unfolds for what feels like hours. Externally, it's 11 seconds. Your spaceship launch wasn't just a dream. It was a DMT microdose, courtesy of your own biochemistry. The night's compression gave you the plot. The psychedelic whisper gave you the scale. Here's a quirky fringe tidbit. Amazonian ayahuasqueros claim the vine spirit teaches time by syncing DMT pulses to heartbeat. One shaman swore a 15-minute ceremony lasted 3 days. EEGs from modern retreats show REM like theta bursts under the brew. Historians still argue whether the 3 days is metaphor or molecular. Your REM was the vine, your pillow the cauldron. Your fingers tingle faintly. Serotonin afterglow, the same receptors still humming. Psychedelics leave a signature. Enhanced pattern recognition. Colours a notch brighter. Empathy dialed up. You'll notice it at lunch. The stranger's smile lands deeper. The sandwich tastes like childhood. The night's DMT did the heavy lifting. The day gets the dividend. A light joke to keep the thimble from spilling. DMT is the brain's Netflix. Binge watches eternity, cancels Monday. Another chuckle. Zara probably wrote his lab notes in crayon after the first hit. And one more for the pineal. If glands had resumes, yours would list part-time reality engineer. The kettle clicks off, steam curling like dream smoke. Tech's blue light is still banished, but the psychedelic echo sharpens your senses. The steam spiral is a galaxy, The click a supernova. The dilation lingers in perception, not duration. You'll pour coffee and taste stars. Scholars still debate whether endogenous DMT is functional or vestigial, survival tool for near-death calm, or evolutionary leftover. Your REM visions vote functional. The spaceship landing healed something small. The fractal bloom planted a question you'll answer by noon. Notice the subtle warmth in your chest. Not heartburn, but connection. DMT dissolves ego boundaries. Even trace amounts soften the walls between you and everything. You'll text a friend you've been avoiding. The message easy, the night's work invisible but complete. Your reflection in the kettle's chrome curves, distorted, playful, true. Psychedelics mirror the self. The night's DMT held the glass. You'll carry the curve into meetings, deadlines, traffic. Less armor, more flow. A memory surfaces, crystalline. Your first lucid leap, age 10, flying over the backyard. DMT was there then too, a child's dose, the night's training wheels. Tonight you'll ride without them. The sun climbs, the shimmer fades, the psychedelic whisper quiets, but the echo remains. One last image before the day swallows you. The fractal bloom, frozen mid-unfurl, a promise for tonight. The night flexes, winks and steps back, and with that, the thimble empties. The kitchen smells of coffee, the world spins and you step forward, warped, widened, and wonderfully awake. You're fully in the kitchen now, steam curling from the mug like the last wisp of dream smoke, the hardwood underfoot giving way to cool tile that grounds you in the ordinary miracle of morning. The night's every warp, theta smears, delta lakes, REM epics, DMT fractals, has funneled into this single quiet moment where the coffee tastes like forgiveness and the day feels negotiable. This is the ultimate fusion, the grand non-REM slowdown where the brain anchors you in molasses time, every breath echoing like distant thunder, and the entire nocturnal symphony collapses into one slow, deliberate, now that you'll carry like a smooth stone in your pocket. Non-REM's deepest stage, Stage 3, the slow wave fortress, returns for a final encore in the pre-dawn hush. Delta waves, now 0.5 to 2 Hz, roll in like ocean swells, each crest a continent of silence. Your EEG would show vast, lazy hills, your subjective clock would show nothing. A 20-minute delta block feels like drifting on an endless sea, no landmarks, no urgency, just the low thrum of repair. Last night's early delta-patched cells, this final slowdown seals the patch, turning temporary fixes into permanent upgrades. Feel the heaviness in your limbs, not fatigue, but density. Blood pools in the large muscles, core temperature steady at 36.0 degrees Celsius, metabolism idling at 50% of waking. The slowdown is deliberate. Every heartbeat lands with a soft boom, every exhale stretches to 6 seconds, the silence between them a cathedral vault. Thunder isn't loud here, it's present, a reminder that the world outside can wait. A mainstream historical fact. In 1974, Italian researcher Mario Bertini recorded the longest continuous delta wave in a human subject, 42 minutes straight, during a post-exam nap in medical students. The subject woke claiming no time passed, yet his immune markers had spiked 30%. Your final delta is Bertini's nap, condensed into the last quiet hour before the alarm. The slowdown syncs everything: heart, lungs, gut, even the glymphatic pulse that flushes beta amyloid one last time. Cerebrospinal fluid moves in slow, tidal surges, washing the brain clean with the patience of glaciers. The thunder is the tide, distant, inevitable, cleansing. You'll wake with a clarity that feels earned, not caffeinated. Here's a quirky fringe tidbit. Siberian shamans induce delta trances with reindeer milk tea and drumming at 1 Hz, claiming the slowdown lets them walk the ancestor road for days in one night. EEGs show 40-minute delta plateaus. Anthropologists call it cultural hypnosis. Historians still argue whether the tea or the drums deserve credit. Your mug is the tea, your breath the drum. Your jaw hangs slack, salivary glands still off duty, tongue a heavy anchor. The slowdown mutes oral motor noise. Even swallowing feels optional. Dentists note fewer bruxism marks in high delta sleepers. The night's final grind is none. Tomorrow your teeth will thank the thunder, a light joke to keep the molasses from sticking. Non-REM slowdown is the original slow-motion replay. Watch your life highlights at 0.25x speed. Another chuckle. Bertini's students probably aced the exam on Delta alone, and one more for the thunder. If breaths had bass, yours would drop the beat at a silent rave. The tile is cool, but your core is warm, vasodilation reversed, heat conserved for the brain's final sweep. The slowdown prioritizes cortex over extremities. Fingers might tingle tomorrow, but thoughts will flow like honey. The day's first email will write itself. Scholars still debate whether delta slowdown is energy conservation or active restoration. Both camps agree the thunder is non-negotiable. Knockout mice lacking slow-wave sleep die within weeks. Your final hour is survival, disguised as luxury. Notice the faint pressure in your ears, Eustachian tubes equalizing slowly, the slowdown extending even to air pressure. The thunder muffles the world. A car door slam outside lands like a cotton ball. Your future self will crave earplugs for this phase, buying extra minutes of silence. Your thoughts are vast, wordless, colours, shapes, the feeling of home. The slowdown strips language. The prefrontal cortex idles, letting the limbic system paint in broad strokes. You'll wake with an image, not a sentence, and it'll guide your day. A memory surfaces slow and heavy. Your grandmother's kitchen, the smell of bread, the sound of rain on tin. The delta thunder carries it in, wraps it in velvet, and tucks it into long-term storage. You'll smell bread at lunch and tear up for no reason. The sun is fully up, the tile warming. The slowdown completes its cycle. Inhale, hold, release. The thunder fades to a whisper, one last anchor before the sea stills, the weight of your own head, nodding once in perfect rhythm. The night flexes, thunder rolls, and you are done. And with that, the molasses thickens into morning. The delta sea recedes, the day begins, and you rise, slow, solid, and thunderously renewed. The room softens, edges blurring like watercolour left in rain. Your breath lengthens, each exhale a slow ribbon unspooling into quiet. The mug cools in your hands, steam no longer rising, just resting. The tile beneath your feet feels like moss, the sun a gentle hand on your shoulder. Let the thunder fade, let the lake settle, let the night fold itself into a small warm stone you'll carry in your chest. No rush, no noise, just the soft click of the world turning, and you, perfectly, beautifully, here. Close your eyes for one more heartbeat. Feel the weight lift, the lights settle, the day wait patiently beyond the door. You are held, you are whole, you are home. Sweet dreams, even in waking.